So our initial Week 15 NFL picks against the spread show. Going to dive into these games. Can't wait to discuss them. Before we do everything, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. As always, wearing something for the merch store in honor of GameStop's earnings. I'm wearing the AMC 801 shirt. This is financial advice. Do not buy AMC shares because you will probably lose money. Actually, you almost certainly lose money. But you can get that shirt here as well as everything else at the merch store. You can change the colors. You can get long sleeve. You can get a hoodie. You can get infant onesie, women's tank top. Everything is at the merch store. We have our apron. We have our mugs. We have our baseball cap. You can go to Amazon, buy my books. The most recent one is Jerks of the College Years, where I made fun of people I met at Penn State. It was a lot of fun to write. I think you guys would have a lot of fun reading it. And my first book was A Safety and a Field Goal, which is a top 5 topic book about the NFL. Mostly serious stuff, but some fun stuff. And also, please consider super chats, super stickers. That's the best way to support the show. We've had some great super chats recently. Last week, Kevin Kovac, actually for the past 3 weeks, Kevin Kovac's been helping us out a lot. Anthony Jackson last week as well. The week before was Slew and John Sanders. You guys are so great. I can't say enough. Thank you so much for supporting the show because YouTube ads, as I always say, pay nothing. So, all right, we're joined by Andy Iskoe from thelogicalapproach.com. Andy, how are you? And how was your week 14?
Week 14 was pretty good, and I'm doing well. And I do have a question. Did you say one of the offerings you have is an apron?
Yes, we have an apron. Yeah.
Is that for folks who want to do a lot of grilling over the summer? That kind of apron?
Sure. I'll put it up on the screen here. It's a controversial apron. It's got removed a few times. Here it is.
Why? What does it say?
It says Butker was right.
Oh.
In reference to what Harrison Butker was saying. And on the apron, yes. It is the wide right. So it was an idea we had in the chats. And so someone, so we built it. And then it was, like I said, it was removed from the merch store. Sandra's saying free. Yeah, we used to say hashtag free the apron because they kept removing it, and then finally they stopped removing it. I guess persistence works when you're trying to score a date with girls, and also when you're trying to post something in the merch store.
Have you thought of doing any personalized sayings on the apron? Like, I'm figuring if someone's going to go out there on a barbecue, you might want to say grill the Cowboys, or grill the Jets. Or grill the Titans, or something like that.
I could see that. I mean, we couldn't part of their logos there because of copyright infringement. But,
right.
We could do something like that.
But you could put a little football there, and people would know what it is.
Yeah, have the color scheme and everything. That's a good idea, actually.
If you want, just have a little football there. That people know without doing the logos. Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to add a lot of stuff here during the off season. Once January comes around and I'm done my fantasy rankings and the free agency rankings, and I can get to work on this stuff. Yeah. And that's a good idea, actually. I like that. Yeah. So hopefully people will buy the stuff. So that's
the best the best suggestions I've had since I suggested some underwear being called Wall Street Briefs. They'd have like a little ticker something on there. So
that'd be fun.
That didn't go over that well.
I like the idea though. So you said week 14 was good. What really stood out? Like, what were some of your top picks?
Well, the one that I really liked all week was Houston over Kansas City on the money line.
Yeah, we like that too.
I just think people have they cannot believe that Kansas City is nowhere near the team that it's been in the past. And every week I keep hearing this is the spot for the Chiefs. It's been the spot for the Chiefs for the last month and a half, and more often than not, they've not come through. Now, maybe they will lose it. This is actually, without saying too much right now, I kind of think this is a good spot this week for the Chiefs going against Kansas City, because I think by this point, everyone's lost so money backing them, they're probably writing them off.
Yeah, there was a lot of sharp money.
They're coming off an embarrassing loss to Houston.
Yeah, there's a lot of sharp money coming in on them at the end of the week there, where the line just kept moving in their direction.
I went to 4.5. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy, and I'm like, am I missing something here? Because I'm with you. I was with Houston. I was on Houston as one of my contest plays in both.
Well, that's why I wonder how sharp that money is, because after the sharps get burned 2 or 3 times, especially in a row, they start to realize, you know what? we've been wrong. And what our eyes were telling us were not what was different from what our numbers were telling us. And handicapping has changed a lot. You see, it used to be the challenge years ago used to be to get good power ratings, good quantifiers, and then the art, that's the science, and then the art was interpreting the numbers as to whether or not they apply. That look aheads, letdowns, difficulty scheduling spots, whatever. Now it's the art that's more important, that everybody uses, the eye test, whatever, and it's coming up with good numbers that's to see whether or not they justify the intangible factors. I maintain that years ago, like when I was first starting, handicapping was like 70% feel and 30% numbers. Now I think it's the other way around. People rely too much on numbers and metrics and don't include the intangibles, which are difficult to gauge because they're all subjective, they're all speculative, as opposed to the numbers. But the people who rely strictly on numbers don't understand or don't want to admit or just don't care. Numbers just tell you what these teams have done. What's been the average, or well, I won't say typical, but the average performance, because the typical performance may not necessarily be the average, because the average could be comprised of a lot of high numbers, a lot of no numbers, and the average in the middle is somewhere where they've never really performed because they've either performed above or below those numbers. So right. You have to do some interpretance and take those numbers in context. But handicapping has changed because of a lot of these situations, and the old saying, and I've used it in a different form, is don't go by what you witnessed last week. Recency bias is what they call it.
Right.
And I've always maintained, you don't want to overreact to what you saw last week, but you also don't want to fail to react, because Kansas City's performance last week and the week before indicates something. Now, next week you may find out it indicated. The indication was, it's just a one-time thing. But Kansas City's been doing the same thing, much like the Eagles in terms of their offense. They've been struggling at the same time. I believe that the Eagles have still just outgained their opponents, and one of them was last week in that game they just played over the weekend. Mm-hmm. In all but 3 games, they've been outgained. A little bit better on a yards per play basis, where I think they've outgained 5, maybe 6 opponents, but I believe 10 out of the 14 games, or 11 out of the 14 games, they have been outgained.
Yeah, they have not played well at all. Do you think the do you think that the less effectiveness of the numbers is because a lot of people have access to them now, or have more? There are just way more numbers out there because of the internet and everything. Is that the case, or is there anything else?
Well, I think like I keep numbers that I don't share. I'll give the perfect example in college football. Okay, I eliminate any game against an FCS opponent, what we used to call the old 1AA as opposed to the 1A. Okay, right. The old football championship subdivision, which actually doesn't apply right now because the FBS, the football bowl subdivision, now has a championship of its own, and that raises a lot of questions. I'll give you a perfect example. The discussion last Sunday between the committee involved basically 4 teams: Alabama, Miami, BYU, Notre Dame. Okay? And they used counter arguments. They said, okay, we don't, remember, the scenario was they had been ranking Notre Dame ahead of Miami, with BYU in between them for basically the past month and a half since they started revealing those rankings. Mm-hmm. And at somewhere they said, we're not. If you lose in a conference championship game, that's not going to be held against you. Well, it wasn't held against Alabama getting blown out by Georgia, but it was held against BYU by getting blown out by Texas Tech by almost a similar margin. Yeah. And at the same time, that allowed them to move BYU down a notch, which enabled them now to have Miami and Notre Dame next to each other, which brings into play what they said, well, if these resumes are right next to each other and they're really evenly rated, we'll use head-to-head competition. That enabled them to pick Miami over Notre Dame because Miami beat Notre Dame the first week of the season, which, by the way, shouldn't really matter all that much. It's the first game of the season, and teams are not the same in December as they were in September, especially in week 1. And the fact is the game was played at Miami, okay? the game was decided on a Miami field goal in the final minute. And so if you take a look, if you use, for simplicity, a 3-point home point advantage, and Miami wins by 3 at home, you're basically saying that was an even game. Because on a neutral field, you could say, well, the 3-point advantage is gone. This team should have tied. Well, obviously you can't tie in college football. But nonetheless, basically it says that. Now, that's not the real problem that I have, however. The real problem I have with that, and it's an example for, again, talking about what you're talking about as far as, how handicapping has changed and everything, how the lines have changed, et cetera, the entire landscape. Miami only played 11 games against FBS teams. Notre Dame played 12. Mm-hmm. In week 2, that's the game where Notre Dame lost at home by 1 point to Texas A&M when they missed an extra point. A Texas A&M team that would go on to be 11-0 before they lost the season finale at Austin, Texas to the Longhorns. So Notre Dame knew after loss to Miami and a loss to Texas A&M, their chances of making the playoffs were very diminished. But if they happened to go 10-0, which they did, they'd probably have a chance to move up and back in contention as other teams suffered some losses along the way. Okay. Mm-hmm. At the same time that Notre Dame was playing Texas A&M, a quality team, and in fact one of the last unbeaten teams to fall, Miami took on that FCS powerhouse, Bethune-Cookman. I think they were like 40-point favorites, and they won like 45-3. Now, people may say, well, I don't know if they did or not, but the lines are approximate. But nonetheless, what people may not realize, one of the major differences between the FBS teams and the FCS teams is that the FCS teams have about 20 fewer football scholarships allowed. Mm-hmm. Something like that. I think it's 85-64. 85 for the FBS and 84, and then 64, I think, for the FBS. So teams that are at the FCS level are at a distinct and inherent disadvantage, which is why you see so many teams, when they play those games, win by scores of 56-3 and things like that, because there's just not enough players of a quality level at that level. So the committee shows the strength of schedule, and they show Miami and Notre Dame nearly even. And I have to say that's the biggest bunch of BS since BS was invented, because how can you include a game against basically a high school team and have that not be indicated as a weakness in the FCS strength of schedule? And if they say, well, we don't count FBF games against FCS foes, why not? They count in the standings. They count on the resume. And actually, I did a thing. If you took out the stats that Miami compiled in that game against Bethune-Cookman and just did their per game stats on an 11-game basis and Notre Dame stats on a 12-game basis, because Notre Dame played only FBS teams, that Miami's stats were decreased, where their rankings amongst all the statistical categories was mostly negatively impacted, because so much of I think they ended up outgaining them something like 550 yards, like, I don't know, 198 or something like that, or 298. It was a mismatch. And the point is that the committee talks out of both sides of its mouth, and we see it with the basketball tournament. It's a little different, though, because you have so many at-large bids in the tournament. But still, when you're talking about seeding or who's going to play close to home, what the committee has is they have because there's no regulation on it. They basically have they can basically have anyone they want, and they don't have to defend it to anybody, because they could basically say, well, we applied this criterion here, and even though it applied to this other team, we applied this other criterion that applied there. So they could basically justify, even it's total inconsistency with whatever they want to do. I, for one, am happy that Notre Dame decided not to take a bowl bid. And yes, I see this this thing up there about Notre Dame not being in a conference bit them in the ass. I actually said on a couple of shows after the committee selection, I said that what this might do is ultimately have Notre Dame relent. Now, I know they're in the ACC for everything except football. Yeah, they may have to now join a conference in one of the major conferences. The Big Ten would make the most sense. The SEC might be the most attractive. That might be down the road. And by the way, another reason why Notre Dame didn't make it is because the committee, in their infinite lack of wisdom, did not make a change when the Pac-12 conference went out of existence for last year and this year, and it'll be next year because a number of teams are going to join it, and it'll have enough teams to qualify as a conference. they basically said, okay, 12-team playoff. The 4 conference championship winners of the 5 power conferences, which at that time were the ACC, the Big 10, the Big 12, the SEC, and the Pac-12, get automatic bids. We're going to save one bid for the best or the highest ranked team in the group of 5 conferences, the Tulanes, the Memphises, the South Floridas, whatever, okay? And then there would be 6 at-large bids to fill out the field of 12, okay? What they should have done, because it cost them this year and it cost Notre Dame, is they should have said, okay, we no longer have a Power 5, we have a Power 4, and we will take the 4 conference champions or the 4 highest ranked conferences, which would include at least one, the 4 highest conferences, and it might include, as it would have this year, the 4 conference champions of the ACC, the Big 10, the Big 12, and the SEC, and the highest ranked conference champion from the group of 5. Well, what they should have done, instead of having it remain at 5 plus the group of 5, they should have made it the 4 conference champions. Now this year, what it would have done, it would have made because the ACC champion did not qualify, but they took in to fill out spots 4 and 5 from the 5 required highest ranking champions. They took 2 teams from the group of 5. They took Tulane and James Madison. So had they done what any idiot could figure out, and that's, well, we no longer have 5 Power 5 conferences, we only have 4, so let's make it 4 Power 5, the 4 top conferences, and a group of 5 conference champion. Theoretically, they could have done that and left out and taken only 3, and instead of taking a 4th one plus the group of 5 champ, they could have just filled in the group of 5 champion as the 4th one and opened up the at-large spot that Notre Dame could have gotten. So anyway, this 20-minute rant has been my soliloquy for the month of December.
I did like what John Gruden said. I don't know if you heard, but
I'm not sure.
So he was like, the conference championships make absolutely no sense because you have the top teams playing against each other, but then you have the other teams like, for example, Indiana,
like
Ohio,
Notre Dame and Miami, who didn't play this week, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, like Indiana and Ohio State playing against each other, but Oregon's just sitting at home doing nothing, and so like Oregon gets rest. Whereas like Indiana and Ohio State beat up on each other, and like, well,
the only thing there is that those teams like the Indiana, they have 2 weeks because the college football playoff begins on the 19th, and those teams played on the 5th and 6th, so they begin on the 19th and the 20th. So they do have 2 full weeks, which is basically a normal routine when you have a bye week or 2 in the middle of the season. 3 weeks might be a little bit too much rest. We'll see how that affects a team like Oregon or basically most of the No, it won't. I think there are only a handful of teams that did not play on that conference championship weekend that are in the I forgot a couple of the other teams that did not play on that weekend. That'll be all 3 weeks, like Oregon.
I don't want to regurgitate everything Gruden said. Like he had like an 8-minute.
Oklahoma would have been another team that did not play on conference championship weekend.
Exactly.
So they, like Oregon, will have that red. So Gruden said what now?
No, I don't want to regurgitate everything he said, but he was like, in addition to the conference championship, you should also have like Oregon playing Oklahoma, or and then like Miami playing so and so, have like sub conference championships, like they're not conference championship, but like the sub matchups, like the undercards, they would play against each other as well, which would also help determine the playoff seeding.
I see Quacky likes the Great Idaho Potato Bowl. That's my second favorite. The Pool and Weed Eater Bowl is my favorite. I don't know if they still have that. Years ago, they used to have something called the Astro Blue Bonnet Bowl that was played at the Astrodome when it was fairly new. In fact, I remember driving down to Florida on New Year's Eve one year, and or driving up from Florida, and they had the Astro Blue Bonnet game on the radio, so it killed 3 hours of travel time.
Yeah, we're getting close to the OnlyFans.com bowl. It's coming soon.
Oh, is that next?
I'm sure it is. It's a matter of time. It's unbelievable how much these some of these.
By the way, that Gruden's idea of like Oklahoma playing Oregon or something, that would just simply be an earlier round of the playoffs. So I think it's the way it is. However, I can see conference champion, when they expand the field to 16, which will probably be within the next 2 to 3 years, they may well eliminate most of the conference championship. Yeah, Boise State is one that is going to be just playing the following week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, he said that it would be elimination games too. Like it would be, the winner it makes to the playoffs. The loser goes home. It's like an 8-minute video. That you can check it out.
Yeah, the only thing there is then you would then fill that slot that Oklahoma, in your example, might have taken with a weaker team. That did not get invited to play on that conference championship weekend.
So the way he had it, it did make sense. I would urge you guys to watch it. It was a good video. And he made some good points. I don't understand why Texas wasn't never in the conversation.
Well, they had lost 3 games, and one of those losses was as a huge favorite against a really, really bad Florida team, and they lost outright at home.
Yeah, but I mean, down the stretch, they were just so much better.
Yeah,
and they crushed Oklahoma. I think Texas is better than Oklahoma. I don't understand why Oklahoma is suddenly in there. Like Oklahoma's big win was against Alabama, and Alabama is not as impressive as people think. So, yeah, I don't see.
I believe the committee likes to look at quality wins, and the problem I have with that is that. You're not if you're like in the Big Ten, you're not going to play as many quality teams as say if you're in the SEC, so you don't have the opportunity. I believe that should count somewhat, but at the same point, I think you should also take a look at bad losses that these teams have. Texas's loss to Florida is inexcusable.
Yeah, I know. But if you're just trying to get the best teams in there, I think Texas would.
Yeah, but the best teams don't. The best teams don't lose at home to a Florida.
Yeah, but I think down the stretch,
the best teams don't lose to an SMU or a Louisville like Miami did.
Yeah, that's certainly true, and I think Texas is better than them and Oklahoma. So, all right, we can get to the NFL games. I think after about 22 minutes spent on college football. So let's get to it. The first game is the Thursday night game between the Falcons.
That's the one I was hoping to avoid by speaking that long. I thought maybe you'd forget it.
You don't have to opine on this. I don't have much of an opinion either.
I mean, I have a slight opinion on it, but it's not worth the kind of discussion we're going to have for some of the other games.
I agree. I put up the injury report here. Bunch of questionable guys for Atlanta. David Onyemata, noteworthy there. Kyle Pitts. I love him in fantasy this week, but we'll see if he's going to be even active. Jalen Walker, Drake London's out, so not a surprise there for the Buccaneers. Mike Evans may return. He's limited and questionable. Jalen McMillan, same thing. Cade Otton is out. So for those of you playing on DraftKings, the 2 other Buccaneer tight ends are $600 and $200. So they are just one of them is going to be free square. I just don't know which one. So good luck determining who's going to be who's going to make the winning lineup there. So anyway, I would side with Atlanta here. I don't really love this game. Not going to bet it. We'll do some live bets, I'm sure. But as far as this game is concerned, like I think Tampa is kind of reeling right now. Baker Mayfield's not healthy, and I've kind of stated how bad Tampa's Bay's home field advantage is. Has been over the past however long they've been in the stadium. Andy got disconnected, so I guess I'll just take the Bucs and let's not overthink it. Really, the Buccaneers just lost to the Saints at home. They haven't played good football in a long time. Like, why are they 4.5-point favorites?
Yeah.
There's Andy again. I think Andy, are you there?
Yeah, I had to restart the camera, so I don't unplug and replug. So.
Okay. So I'm saying Tom is saying just take the Bucs. Let's not overthink it. I'm thinking like Tampa hasn't played good football in a long time. They have really struggled. They just lost to the Saints at home. I don't think they deserve to be 4.5-point favorites. But then again, do I trust Raheem Morris on 3 days of rest?
Atlanta's been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Not that was a foregone conclusion, but now you have to wonder what Atlanta's game plan might be. They might very well start to take a look. Who's the backup? Who's the backup behind Cousins?
Let me see here. It is. I'm gonna pull it up. It is Easton Stick.
Oh, okay. His brother Weston, I guess, is not available.
No.
But maybe they give him a little bit of a look. They got nothing to lose.
Maybe I don't know. I mean, it would be nice for them if they could upset Tampa. It's kind of like a big deal for them.
I think you either play Tampa Bay or you pass the game. I don't know that you could trust Atlanta at 4.5. Look, Baker Mayfield, he's had a lot of good games. I'm not going to blame him for the loss to New Orleans last week. I don't think he defense didn't play up to standards.
Yeah, I don't think he played well though. I mean, there's a lot of blame to go around on the team. By the way, Tampa at home in their stadium, 46-80 against the spread. They have the worst home field advantage in the NFL. It's not even close.
Now, how far back does that go?
This is their new in their stadium, the new Sombrero.
Okay, what's their record at home say over the last 5 years though? Because you're going back many years, and and a lot of those years Tampa Bay was had the worst road record too.
Well, no, I think they were pretty good under Tony Dungy. They had a lot of great.
Yeah, but how long ago was that now?
I think it was still the new stadium there.
I'm saying it was a little bit more recent. If you go back 6 years, that's almost 50 games.
So in the last 5 years, they are 24-27 against the spread at home. So 47%.
Okay, marginally unprofitable. Yeah.
Yeah. So, And
what's Atlanta's record on the road?
What'd you say?
Atlanta's record on the road.
Atlanta's record on the road in that same time span.
Yeah.
It is 21-25 against the spread. So basically
same thing. So in other words, there's no any negative home field advantage for Tampa Bay playing at home is offset by Atlanta's negative record playing anywhere on the road.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Those two negatives cancel each other out.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Like I said, I don't trust Raheem Morris with 3 days of preparation. I mean, I don't trust Raheem Morris with 3 years of preparation. So I don't really. I'm not eager to back Atlanta here either. Like I said, very, very slight lean to Atlanta, but I'm not going to play this game. And you said you would play Tampa or nothing, right?
Yeah, I'm basically the same way. Slight lean to Tampa Bay, but I wouldn't play either side. So let me put it this way: if I had to make a play on the game, there's no question that it would be Atlanta. Tampa Bay. I got the message about my phone that my camera has to be adjusted. I don't know what it is here because I'm not stepping on any cables.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like me.
I don't know what's going on there. Quacky says Atlanta's phoned it in. I thought they played hard last week. They was 6-6 at halftime, and then they had a series of unfortunate events. Like they had the opening kickoff of the third quarter was a touchdown. Then Atlanta drove down the field to the red zone. Bijan Robinson fumbled, and then Cousins had a weird interception. So I don't. I don't really blame, or I don't want to say Atlanta's just phoning it in. I think they're still playing hard, and I think that this would be a good game for them to win. Just to build for next year. But I'm not trying to build a case for Atlanta here. I don't really like them either. What's up with Ibuka being terrible? Hopefully, Mike Evans being back gives him a strong finish. Yeah, he's been a real disappointment. I can almost hear my 40-1 ticket on Ibuka to win offensive rookie of the year just going up in flames. It's really upsetting. Andy, are you back?
I am.
Okay. Yeah, I was talking about how
when I disappear, it's usually because there's a camera thing, and I just unplug it, plug it back in, and turn the mic back on. So the mic's coming back on before the camera.
Okay.
I still have not been able to figure out what the issue is because when I go to and maybe it's with the streaming connection. Because when I just go on to turn my camera on for other purposes, I have no issues.
Okay. So, is it attached to the computer or is it?
No, it's a free standing camera.
Okay. All right. Let's get to a game that we might want to bet. Let's go to the 1:00 slate. The Cardinals are at the Texans. The Texans are -9.5. Initially, and I wrote this up on the site, and it's going to change from my Thursday thoughts. I liked Arizona, and my theory, it was just a couple of reasons why, is it's a really bad spot for Houston. First of all, they're coming off wins against Buffalo and then Indianapolis, and then last week against Kansas City. Now they have this non-conference team, Arizona, and so like how focused are they going to be for this game is a huge favorite. Also, Arizona last week, they scored 10 points before garbage time. Like if they score 10 points against here, and again, similar defenses with the Rams and Texans, they're both in the top 3. If they score 10 points, like the Texans need 20 to cover. I'm not convinced that they can score 20, So I was thinking, okay, Arizona is a good play here. But then we got news that Paris Johnson's going to be out. And Arizona has so many injuries on the offensive line and really everywhere. They're one of their star rookie defensive linemen, Walter Nolan's been out, but he might actually come back because he's limited. But on the offensive line, they had Evan Brown's been out. Paris Johnson's out. One of their right tackle, Jonah Williams, has been out. So there's a chance they could be missing both of their tackles here against Houston's elite defensive line, which just seems like severe trouble for me. So I don't back Houston either because this is a big line, a bad spot. But any reason I had to back Arizona kind of like disappeared because of the offensive line injuries. So what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, when did that news about the injury for Arizona become public?
It was like late last night.
Because we haven't seen. I don't believe we've seen any movement in that line from the 9.5.
No, we haven't. I was surprised. I thought maybe it'd go to 10.
Which almost makes me think that whoever's making lines or adjusting lines or making bets is not factoring that in as being significant, and maybe it's because Arizona is so limited that replacing one replacement for a guy who is already at a replacement isn't going to have that much of an impact.
Well, the other thing I can think of is that he got hurt in last week's game. He got hurt halfway through, Paris Johnson, and he's outstanding. He's an outstanding player. Like he's their best lineman by far. So maybe they already factored that in that he'd be out. So that's my thinking.
That's possible. So if that's the case, then maybe the line would have been 7.5.
Maybe
or
maybe 8.5. Yeah.
Not sure I'm going to play this game, but this one I had the same thoughts as you. I wanted to play Arizona because they have been competitive. They've done well as far as keeping games close. They haven't been able to close them out, but they've given up good battles, and they are going up against a Houston team that is not offensively strong. Their defense is, and you're right. Maybe Houston gets to 20 points, but maybe the Cardinals can get to 13.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's still possible.
Let me put it this way. It's the first thought I had is a horrible spot for Houston. They're probably due for a little bit of a letdown. Who do they play next week?
I'll bring that up in a second. They play the Raiders next week.
Okay, same thing as this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my first thought was that I wanted to give a shot at Arizona because they continue to play hard.
Mm-hmm.
Even when they're down, they still can. Even last week, didn't they score the last 7 points in that blowout against the Rams?
Yeah.
So I mean, they could have just mailed it in like the Raiders should have done at the end of their game. We'll get to that one later, but nonetheless, like in the first game, for me it's either Tampa Bay or pass. In this one, it's either Arizona or pass. I wouldn't even feel all that comfortable playing Houston on a 6-point teaser.
Okay. So we agree. Arizona, lean toward Arizona. So it's a shame that they're not going to have Paris Johnson because, like I said, he's an outstanding player. And without him, like they're not going to have either tackle against.
No Paris Johnson somewhere. No London Fletcher somewhere.
Where was the London Fletcher?
I don't know where there's Moscow something or other.
We'll get to maybe it's in the 2028 NFL draft. So the next game is here we go. Well, you just said Raiders Eagles. Before we get to this, what were your thoughts on that Raiders cover? Because there's a lot of hoopla about that. So like, what do you?
Well, Pete Carroll gave sort of like an unbelievable response. He said, well, we get the kickoff quickly, and we make it a 3-point game. We could try the onside kick and possibly have one shot at the end zone. No, Pete, there was 5 seconds left when the official called to delay a game penalty. It would have taken from the snap to the call for the kick to be made from wherever it was, probably a good 3 to 4 seconds before the official would whistle that it's good. And you would not have had time. The time probably would have run out at that point. I don't necessarily know that it had anything to do with with him knowing the line or the total. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. He didn't express anything on that. But the reason why I thought it was stupid of them to trot out the player for the field goal is it's very obvious. Why run one extra play where there's a risk of injury? I think your kicker already had gotten injured earlier in the year. I don't know if he missed a game or two, and I think the holder also had. I don't know. Is the holder the punter? I think it might be.
I don't know. I don't know.
In any event, why risk an injury on the final play of the game? Just go in and more importantly, why did the official stop the clock to call the delay of game penalty? It's not like the guy was standing over and wouldn't let him get up for like 15 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I thought real time. I thought, okay, their only chance to win this game, and like it's 0.0000001%, is they have to have the field goal be a line drive so fast that they have 1 second left, and then they onside it all the way down the field and recover it in the end zone. Like that's like the only way, and it's so improbable. So I take it that you think this is just stupidity and not malfeasance, right?
Well, I don't think there was anything nefarious about it, if that's what you mean, that Carroll was doing it knowing the point spread and the total. I think it's just stupidity. Arrogance, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people who are saying like Pete Carroll should go to prison for.
Yeah, I saw that. Dave Portnoy said that.
Portnoy has talked about it. Yeah, I don't know, because at the real time, I was like, okay, this makes sense. Like you have to. I
had Denver in a teaser, but I did have the over, so I lost that by half a point because I couldn't get the 41. But that's not why I feel the way I did, because I mean, hey, it's football. If these things happen,
Right.
I
think Sean McVay did that last year.
What, started a field goal with no time left?
Yeah. He was
after
the
a penalty.
Niners,
after
not
a play
after penalty.
stoppage.
It was not after a play stoppage, but the Niners Rams on the final play of the game, McVay kicked the field goal.
What time of the season was it?
It was week 2.
Okay, I can somewhat justify it because points can come into play in one of the tiebreakers, and in week 2, okay. Now, when you're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, as the Raiders have been since about training camp, the points aren't going to matter.
Right.
The only thing that matters is the risk of injury.
Yeah, and isn't like the 6.
Now, by the way, there is one other thing. Maybe Carlson had in his contract somewhere where he gets a $500,000 bonus for achieving a certain level.
Yeah,
I could understand that. I wouldn't necessarily have done it for that reason, but I could understand it. I mean, Pete Carroll is somewhat of a player's coach, and if it was pointed out to him that Carlson has this, he's 4 or 5 field goals away from doing it or whatever, I could understand that. But and I would not have been upset if Carroll came out and said, "Well, our kicker has an incentive clause in his contract, and he's been a reliable kicker, and unfortunately hasn't had a chance to play in the playoffs. We want to give him the chance." I don't know that I necessarily would agree, but I certainly would have understood it and not felt as animated negatively as some have.
That makes sense. Isn't like the 6th or 7th tiebreaker like points, like point differential?
Yeah, you really have to go very, very deep. Like you have to be tied in the record against common opponents, which I think is a 3rd or 4th top, and non-conference. It is down there somewhere. I think it might almost be just ahead of a coin toss, which is a tie-breaking procedure, but I think it's 8 or 9 levels deep.
Yeah, I think there's 1 week, I think it was 2000 or maybe 99, where there were two. It was the Packers and the Panthers. They played week. Well, they obviously played the final week of the season, but
week 17.
Week 17. The Panthers had to overtake the Packers by like 17 points, and so both teams are just slinging it downfield. And I think at one point, like the Packers were up by they were up by like 38-10. And like 2 minutes left, and they onside kicked it and recovered it, and because they had to score more points. So okay. So their point differential is something, and the Packers ended up making the playoffs. I forget what year it was, but it was I remember it just being so funny because these teams were just like like the one team was like it was a 2-minute drill. They're up 45-17, and they're in 2-minute drill trying to score.
Well, I'll be interested to see what happens in the NFC West because San Francisco is not out of the division title race.
No, they're not at all. They definitely have a chance.
Seattle and the Rams have to meet again. I think Seattle and San Francisco have to play again also. Yep. I think the Rams' remaining conference game or division game is against Arizona.
Yes, yeah, that makes
I,
sense. Yeah,
yeah,
because they
I don't
played
think they
the
play him.
Niners
Yeah,
twice. They played the Niners twice, and the Seattle meeting is the second one, week 16. So yeah, that
yeah.
makes sense. Okay, so as far as this game is concerned, Raiders at Eagles. We had a funny interaction yesterday with Kenny doing the fantasy show. So he's not really that much into betting, or not at all, I guess I should say. So he was like, "What is the line in the Eagles Raiders game?" I'm like, "What do you think it is?" And he's like, I don't know, 6. I'm like, no, it's 11 and a
Now
half.
your response should have been, "No, I'm talking full game, not first
Yeah,
half,"
the first half,
to
exactly.
make it feel a little better.
Yeah,
That maybe he misunderstood you, even though we know he
right,
didn't. But
right. I mean, look, he doesn't
it's
follow
Christmas season. I'm in a good mood for overlooking things.
I so you mentioned before, you like touched on this briefly, that you think this is or maybe a good spot for the Chiefs against the Chargers. And I don't know if it has to do anything with the game that they played Monday night, but these teams played on the West Coast on Monday night. They played about
Yeah,
150 snaps in overtime. So an exhausting game, defensive struggle, defensive battle. So the Eagles basically, they lose a day. They fly back to the East Coast after this tough game, and they have to get ready for a non-conference opponent they don't know anything about on a short week, and now they're playing 1 o'clock on the East Coast after their body clocks were on the West Coast. So I think this is a really bad spot for the Eagles, despite them coming off a loss.
that's what I would normally have thought if it were not a loss. It would be a play against, but they're off a loss, and they need this game pretty much to wrap up the division and certainly affect them if depending upon where other teams are. And they've been criticized so much from their offense that this is a defense, and I'll surprise you with a statistic here in a moment, although you may know something similar to it. This is a defense that the Eagles should be able to move the ball on.
Yeah,
However, I will mention that the numbers for defensive yards per play actually favor Vegas by a tenth of a yard. Vegas allows turn over to the right side here. Vegas allows 5. Actually, they show them even here. Vegas allows 5.2, and Philadelphia allows 5.2.
The yards per play.
Yards per play, but I think if you round it out to 2 digits, it's a little bit better for Vegas, which I think would be surprising because you wouldn't think, given the reputation of the Eagles' defense and that of the Raiders' defense, you wouldn't think it would be that close. You think it would be more along the lines of the difference in the offense, which I think is greater than a lot of people think. Raiders average 4.5 yards per play on offense. Philadelphia 5.3. I would not have thought the margin would be that great. Not because Las Vegas has been any good. 4.5 is 4.5, but I can't see the Eagles having been that good to be, almost a full yard better.
Yeah, I agree. The Eagles' offense has been dreadful at times this year. They can't do anything. Saquon Barkley had that one run. Outside of that, he can't find any room to run. Jalen Hurts, 5 turnovers. He's been so hot and cold this year. Like that Minnesota game, he was great, and this one against the Chargers, he was woeful. This is an easier matchup for him. So maybe he'll do better, especially with all the criticism. And on the other side, the Raiders may not have Geno Smith, although given how bad Geno Smith has been, I'm not sure how much of a downgrade it is to Pickett.
I think Pickett is going to start this week. I think I heard that today.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't think this is that much of a downgrade because Geno Smith has been atrocious. Pickett played better last week, but that was garbage time. Denver wasn't really focused on stopping him. So, and Pickett played there last year, so I don't really know who that favors. Like you might say the coaching staff knows something about him, but then again, he did go against the players sometimes in practice. Not that backups play that much. So I don't have a good play on this game. I don't know, maybe you do, but I'm like leaning toward the Raiders because I think this line is too high for how the Eagles have played. The Eagles just haven't really scored all that much. They had a great game against the Giants before their bye, but ever since that game, they just have had very low point totals. Like
for the year, the Eagles are scoring 7.1 points more per game than the Raiders. Raiders are number 32 at 15.1. Mm-hmm. At 22.2, the Eagles are number 19, so they're even below average. Average this year is 23.1.
Right, and since that Giants game, and combined, Lane Johnson's been out for a lot of these games, they scored 10, 16, 21, 15, and 19. It doesn't seem like a team that should be favored.
So what's that, 21 is the most they've scored over those 5 games?
ever since the Giants game in October 26th.
Yeah.
So ever since the start of November, they haven't exceeded 21 points. And Lane Johnson's been out. I think when Lane Johnson returns, things will go back to normal maybe, but they just can't score reliably. And I'm like, how do they cover this 11.5? But then I think, oh, the Raiders can't block at all, and Eagles defense might score some touchdowns. So again, I'm slightly into the Raiders, but I'm not playing this game. What do you think?
Well, when I take a look at the Eagles, that Giants game is the only game that they've won by more than, 7 points.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles wins this year by 4 over Dallas, by 3 over Kansas City, by 7 over the Rams, and that is generous because of that blocked field goal, by 6 over Tampa Bay, by 6 over Minnesota, by 18 over the Giants in the rematch, by 3 over the Packers, and by 7 over the Lions. Now, admittedly, they are not playing. The Raiders team is offensively one of the weakest teams in the league, and none of those teams that I think I mentioned with those single-digit wins is as weak as the Raiders have been, with the possible exception of the Giants, although even the Giants are averaging 21.3 points per game, which is about 6 points more than what the Raiders have been averaging. Now, as far as the Raiders go, I'm looking now at their schedule. They have lost 7 games by double digits, by 11, by 17, by 34, by 31, by 17, by 14, by 17. So what's the line you're showing there? Was it 11.5, 12.5?
11.5, yeah.
11.5. Okay. Only one of their double-digit wins was by less than 11.5, and that was by exactly 11. And that was week 2 at home against the Chargers, when the Chargers only scored 20 points and the Raiders managed 9. So probably not a game I would play, but the situation does call for a big effort out of the Eagles, especially, and you know this with all the criticism. I'm sure every talk show has been burying the Eagles offense, calling for the offensive coordinator to be fired. And I'm not so sure that the Eagles offensive problems aren't related to the play calling.
Yeah, there are a lot of calls for Hurts to be benched as well. My dad called me today. He's like, "So is Hurts going to be benched?" I'm like, "Not yet." And he's like, "I would bench."
How about they let? In fact, I'm wondering how much they miss Kellen Moore.
Yeah, I think they miss him a lot. They miss Lane Johnson too recently.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot
because
of
watching a number of their games, because so many of their games are nationally televised, even if they are available on the NFL channels, they're still a nationally televised game so often. Their play calling has been very, very unusual this year. Their play calling has been the kind that you make to stay in a game, not the kind you make to pull away in a game.
Yeah, it's such a big deal, and again, I feel like people just they don't take these offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator moves very seriously. I told you this a year ago. This kind of like anecdote where I was at a party heading into the 2023 season, and a bunch of a lot of Eagles fans there because I'm in the Philly area, and they're like, "Oh, how the Eagles going to do this year?" And I'm like, they're coming off the Super Bowl loss to the Chiefs," and I said, "Well, they have 2 new coordinators, so I don't know. I really don't like them that much this year." And they're like, coordinators, who cares about coordinators? So like people.
Now, did you see them? Did you see them later after the season?
Not directly after the season. I mean, these are people I don't really see those people that often. So actually, I don't know if I've seen them since. So they people don't understand like that. That's so crucial. That's one of the reasons why I was down on the Lions heading into the season too. Like they lost both coordinators. So, yeah, I think there's definitely something to that. They need to find a new coordinator because I agree with what you said. Their play calling has been abysmal.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we have 3 games.
Yeah, so I will say I would lean to the Eagles, but again, it's of the first 3 games we've talked about. Neither my lean to the Bucks, nor my lean to the Cardinals, nor my lean to the Eagles is something that I am likely to play.
We agree totally. All right, so the next game, and
only thing I might do, and I'm not sure yet because I don't think the line will raise high enough. If the Buccaneers move up to 6, then I might include them in a teaser, but I won't do it at 4.5.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Okay. This game I might bet depending on what happens at quarterback. We have the Jets at the Jaguars. The line is Jaguars minus 13.5. And we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. It could be Justin Fields. It could be Tyrod Taylor. It could be Brady Cook. Wednesday.
Didn't I hear that they acquired from San Francisco a quarterback?
Did they?
Someone said they got Martinez from San Francisco. I did not verify that, but someone who's knowledgeable did mention it.
I will look into that.
We'll see if I can find that.
Okay. Well, so I mean, if that is the case, then that definitely does not bode well for either the Jets signed Adrian Martinez, formerly the Niners. Okay, so I don't
know. It wouldn't have been a trade, but it might have been a release. I don't know how recent the release was.
Yeah, I don't know either. So, I mean that doesn't bode well for Taylor and Fields playing, and the Wednesday practice report doesn't bode well for that either because neither practiced today. So,
what'd you say the other backup was? Cook.
It's Brady Cook, the undrafted quarterback from Missouri.
Okay, yeah. Then the Jets should change their name to the Goose because the Goose will be cooked.
It was last week. I had to play on the Jets, and then Tyrod Taylor got hurt.
So did I against Miami. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, what are you gonna do? He got hurt after 4 passes.
It's kind of like Daniel Jones with Indianapolis. Score is 14-7. I don't know that the result of it would have been any different, but once he went out of the game, the Colts had no chance.
Right. So, the Jets had no chance. And what really tilted me was I wanted to live bet the Jets or against the Jets or maybe Jets team total under. But I was waiting on confirmation for Taylor to be out, and they kept saying questionable. Like at halftime, it was still questionable. And then I was like, what if I'm going to bet against the Jets and then he returns? Like it's going to be bad. So, I just didn't make a play on that.
Sometimes you have to just go with what your eye shows.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Questionable. There's questionable versus probable is a big difference.
Yeah, he was finally deemed doubtful heading into the fourth quarter. So by then it was when
it was like already 34-10.
Yeah, it was already too late by then. So anyway, if this is Brady Cook, I am going to be all over the Jaguars. You have an abysmal quarterback. Guy should not be in the NFL. This is not like a backup like Jacoby Brissett or Marcus Mariota, who's like a seasoned backup.
Seasoned veteran.
Yeah. This is a quarterback who is Max Brosmer type level, who just should not be in the NFL at all. And he's going against the number 11 defense in the NFL. The Jaguars defense has gotten a lot better recently. They're great against the run. They have great edge rush. I feel like they should be able to pressure Cook and force him to interceptions. And their offense has gotten a lot better too. I think Jacoby Myers has been so big for Lawrence. Brian Thomas is healthy again. Brenton Strange is healthy again.
Cone is looking like a great hire for the Jags by the Jags.
Yeah. So this Jaguar team, I think, is getting hot at the right time. I don't mind them as a long shot Super Bowl play either. So I'm going to be on the Jaguars if Cook starts. Now, if it's Taylor or Fields and they seem like they could be somewhat healthy, then I may change my mind. But right now, it's looking like Cook. And as you said, the Jets are cooked. So the goose is cooked for the Jets. So what do you think about this game?
I like the way the Jags are playing. Don't know that I'll play it, but probably of the 4 games that we played so far, the ones I'm more likely to play if it were to be, it would be the Eagles and the Jags rather than the Cardinals and the Bucs.
Okay.
But we still have not talked about a game that I'm definitely on or strongly leaning towards.
Are there a lot of them this week so far, or are you just kind of?
I would say anywhere from 4 to 6.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll certainly get to them. We can move on. I feel stronger about the Jaguars than you. So, assuming it's Cook, as I said, we'll see about the injury report there. Browns at the Bears. The Bears are favored by 7.5. This may seem like a big line, and at first glance, I thought that it's
a bad spot for the Bears.
It is. It's a hard spot.
They're in a Green Bay sandwich. Bears will be happy to just go get the win.
Yeah, I don't know why the NFL schedule stuff this way.
And Cleveland with the with your buddy Shador showed some offense last week.
My buddy, my buddy, my guy, my friend. I
and Tennessee, by the way, has been playing better of the last month or so. Instead of losing by 20, 30 points, they've been losing by low double digits and single digits the last number of weeks. So they've been playing better. So the Cleveland's effort had to perhaps be a little bit more respected than perhaps you'd normally do it against Tennessee.
Yeah. Well, as you said, this game is sandwiched between the two Packer games. Now, the Bears did lose, so it's not like if they're coming off a win, this would be an atrocious spot. Now,
almost same thing like the Eagles for different reasons.
Right. So if the Browns look appealing to you, I want to show you the injury report. Now it's only
I'm not saying they do. I'm just pointing out I happen to like the Bears here.
Oh, you do like the Bears? Okay. Yeah. Well, this will.
I'm saying the concern is the spot.
Okay, I'm not too concerned about the spot. Like I said, it's a loss, so I think they wouldn't rebound. But
you want to be concerned that they're not thinking, hey, we could have beaten the Packers. Oh, we're looking forward to next week. We're going to get them. Oh, we're going to be prepared.
I
don't believe they think that way, but I don't know.
It's so hard to gauge motivation. Look at this injury report though. You have how many DMPs? You have Batonio DMPs. It's a big deal. Conklin DMP. Grant Delpit DMP. Mason Graham. That's a big deal. DMP. David Njoku DMP. Dylan Sampson DMP. Wyatt Teller DMP. Cedric Tillman DMP. Denzel Ward DMP. I know this is just Wednesday, but that's looking like a mash unit. And so if this persists like through Friday and all these guys are out, and I don't know how you don't take the Bears at that point because half the roster's going to be missing.
Well, I did not hear you say Myles Garrett.
That's true. That is absolutely true. However, Chicago has one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. Not that it really matters against Garrett, but so instead of allowing 5 sacks to Garrett, maybe they allow 2. No, I would be on Chicago if, like I said, these injuries persist. Otherwise, kind of reevaluate later in the week and see what happens. So, what are your thoughts on this game?
Bears would be a teaser play for me.
Okay.
Because I am concerned, although I like Ben Johnson and I don't think he's likely to hold back, but Cleveland, and you don't know about Cleveland because they're out of things, and they lost a game that they should have won last week.
Mm-hmm.
The Bears may do just enough to win, and they would make a good teaser candidate. If I were to play a side at the regular point spread, I'd probably buy the 7.5 down to 7.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. As long as you get a good number. The boss says hit Shador most passing yards last week at 200-1. Congratulations, that's awesome, man. What a great bet that was.
And you didn't even have to include yards gained in warmups.
Right. Or yards drifting backward in the pocket.
Yeah.
Under pressure. That's awesome, the boss. Congrats on that. All right, let's get to the next one, which is Bills at the Patriots. The Bills are 1-point favorites. I saw speaking of Dave Portnoy, he said this is the most disrespectful thing he's ever seen in his life. His Patriots being 1-point underdogs. I know
he hasn't followed football for a long time.
Well, he's a big Patriots fan. I can see it. I can see why he's a homer. But no, the Bills. They seem like the play here, like the Patriots haven't beaten anyone this year except for the Bills. And that was at a time when the Bills weren't playing well because
I'll point out one thing before you continue. You probably know it. If the Patriots win this game, they clinch the AFC East.
Yeah.
And deal Buffalo another loss towards qualifying as a wild card.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that a win by Buffalo changes much.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it helps their wild card chances because they're not going to win the division with 3 games remaining.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, the Patriots hasn't beaten anyone except for the Bills, but the Bills at the time, the week after they lost to Atlanta, so they weren't playing well at the time.
Was the only other team they beat with a winning record Tampa Bay?
And we've seen Tampa Bay collapse since then. So. Yeah. Like, what is this resume? It's I don't know if you ever seen that Homer Simpson meme where he loses a lot of weight and he looks so built in the front, but then they show from the back all the fat's in the back, and it's all the teams the Patriots have beaten. That's what it is in the back. It's perfect meme for the Patriots.
I just take a look at it. Even though it was at home, the Bills rose to the occasion against the Chiefs and against the Bengals.
Yeah, I think that their run defense has been very suspect this year. It's been awful at times, but recent past couple of games it has improved. I don't know if that's permanent, but and they've also had a lot some injuries as well. You know, like 2 weeks ago they were missing both their tackles, and they won despite of that. And then last week they overcame Cincinnati's onslaught. The Bengals were tremendous with Burrow, and they came back and won. Their pass defense is really good, and the Patriots. You know, we say they haven't been tested. But they really haven't been tested without Will Campbell. They played the Giants before their bye, and the Giants are terrible. So they're going to go against the Bills team that can really rush after the quarterback. I like Buffalo to get revenge here. This is not like a huge play for me or anything, but I do like it at a what I think is a discounted line. I think this line should be more in Buffalo's favor. So what are your thoughts on this game?
I'm with you there for many of the same reasons. I think this is, well, again, it's an important game for both teams to a certain extent because New England, while they can clinch the division, they also need to keep pace with Denver. We'll talk about them a little bit later because Denver holds the tiebreaker over them, and both are 11-2. So the Patriots would like to win that one. Of course, the win here gives them the division over Buffalo by virtue of the. I just want to see something here. By virtue of the season sweep. Just taking a look at. Let me see if I've got these numbers here. Yards per rush for and against. Buffalo's numbers have decreased nicely. The first 4 games of the season, they allowed 6.0 yards per rush. It went down to 4.7, and then it rose a little bit to 4.9 in games 9 through 12, and then they allowed barely over 3 in their first game of the what I call the fourth quarter, which is 13 through 17, which was last week against Cincinnati. So a lot of their bad numbers occurred early in the season, like you said.
Yeah.
You know, this is one of those games that I am playing.
Okay. So we're in agreement there. Okay. Let's get to the next game, which is Ravens at the Bengals. Ravens are 2.5-point favorites in Cincinnati. You know what this reminds me of is where we talk about the Chiefs, where the Chiefs keep being favored. And the Sharps keep taking the Chiefs. Not that the Sharps took the Ravens last week, but still, the Ravens being favored.
Did you think they got screwed out of that touchdown?
Oh yeah. I thought he took 3 steps.
I did too. Apparently, from what when they slowed it down, it seemed that the ball came out in between steps 2 and 3.
Right. And I don't know. At one point,
by the way, if you did, I don't blame the officials for making the call. I blame the replay officials.
Yeah, I feel the same way too. So I mean, there were some other shady things in that game, but what stands out to me, like officiating aside, Baltimore played like crap in that game. Yeah. And they had 9 days off before that Pittsburgh game, and we had just seen Pittsburgh lay a giant egg against the Bills at home, where Aaron Rodgers went into the third quarter without completing a pass over the line of scrimmage, and where Pittsburgh's run defense allowed 300 yards almost to Buffalo, and yet both sides of the ball, Pittsburgh played better than Baltimore. You had Aaron Rodgers airing it out for 50 yards, like the bombs to Metcalf. Their defense held the Ravens in check. Lamar Jackson continued to not run as much. Derrick Henry looks like he's washed up. Is this Ravens team just done? I like why, and if so, why are they 2.5-point favorites in Cincinnati, where Joe Burrow just keeps getting better each week? He was so good last week against Buffalo, not including those 2 fluky interceptions that happened toward the end. But Burrow is amazing, and if Baltimore plays like they did against Pittsburgh, he's going to light them up, and he did 2 weeks ago. And then Cincinnati's defense has quietly gotten better in the past few weeks. You know, they had the Patriots game where they held Drake May in check. The Patriots didn't score all that much. Then they played against who they play against? They played against Baltimore on Thanksgiving night. Baltimore only scored 14 points. And then last week, you could look at Buffalo's 39 points, but there was a pick 6, and then Buffalo scored a touchdown off the other interception, those tips.
Next interception on the very next play by Burrow. Yeah.
Right. And there's a short field. So if you take away those 14 points, it's 25. holding Buffalo to 25 is pretty impressive for Cincinnati. So if Cincinnati's
Holding anybody to 25 is impressive for Cincinnati.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if Cincinnati continues to play this way defensively, and if Burrow continues to improve, I think Cincinnati has to be the play here. Fortunately, we're not getting +3, but still, I just don't trust this Baltimore team at all. What do you think about this game?
No, I still trust Baltimore. This is a team that knows how to win. They've had their backs tested before. They'll be pretty pissed off at the results of last week's game, so I expect a more focused efforts, and I expect them to have made some adjustments after that game. They went into that game not knowing about Joe Burrow, so now they're going to be prepared for him a little bit more, and I think they're going to take advantage of the defense. Now, to be fair, Cincinnati has Higgins back, so they're going to test the Baltimore defense, but we've seen the Baltimore defense rise up at times this year, just not as often as we're used to. And again, one of the matchups I like, Baltimore, despite Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson not using their feet as effectively in the past, they're still number 3 in rushing for 143 yards per game, and they're going up that Cincinnati defense that's number 32, allowing 156. So we may not need may not need Jackson to do too much in the passing game. Baltimore is 27th in passing. They are 26th in passing defense yards per game, but they're facing Cincinnati. It's number 31, so I think they will have some success. As far as any of the other indicators, both teams are negative in turnovers. Baltimore -5, Cincinnati -4. Cincinnati still allows 7 points per game more than Baltimore, and they are scoring 0.2 of a point more, so the points scored is basically even. But again, I still think overall the Baltimore defense, not by a wide margin. Now, keep in mind, it depends how you measure it. If you use the traditional total yards per game, Cincinnati ranking number 32, Baltimore ranking number 25. It's only a 7-point gap, but it is a total of 62 yards less that Baltimore allows than Cincinnati. That's an awful lot. That's almost like a full touchdown drive less than Cincinnati allows. And if you look at it on a yards per play basis, Baltimore plus 0.4 rush yards per play on offense. Baltimore 0.8 yards better on defensive yards allowed. Rushing, Baltimore averages 5.0. Cincinnati allows 5.2. Baltimore allows 4.3. Cincinnati averages 4.2. So those numbers justify or validate or correlate with the yards per play. And when you look at, and again, I look at yards per pass completion. Baltimore has a 1.2 yards edge in pass completion offense and a 1.0 yards per pass completion defense. And we're now talking 14 games into the season with injuries being factored in and out for both teams over a good part of the season. I think this is a cheap number to lay with the Ravens, who already now are a game behind Pittsburgh. They can make up that game because they do play them later, so they'll be able to effectively have an opportunity with a win here to stay in that race, because I would think Baltimore, realistically, their only chance is to win the division. And I still think they're the best team in this division. I might, with a healthy Burrow, put Cincinnati second ahead of Pittsburgh.
I would too, yeah.
But Cincinnati, now one thing is, Cincinnati is one loss away from elimination, because they are, I think, 7 and no, they are 4-9.
Yeah, 4-9.
So if they lose here, they'll be 4-10, and the most wins they could have is 7.
Mm-hmm.
And the winner of the division will likely have, I'll say, 9, possibly 10.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, they'll be, if not mathematically, effectively eliminated.
Yeah. Realistically, yeah.
Right. Interesting you say Higgins is playing. I thought he was concussed. I guess I missed that. Because he did come back and then he left again, I guess. So he is.
Yeah, what is his status on the?
He was limited Wednesday. Report? He was limited Wednesday. So,
okay. Which means, well, that tends to suggest he's not in the concussion protocol, or he's been cleared.
I think he's still in concussion protocol.
You can still practice limited.
I mean, limited. You could just stretch on the field. It's like.
I guess if you're there for one play or something, you'll be limited.
Right. It's like they're pretty loose with these limited, as we've learned with.
And why even bother?
I don't know.
Why? In other words, why either say full practice or Nothing
Yeah.
else.
Yeah, I don't know. These they hide stuff all the time. It's all
Yeah.
gamesmanship with the injury report.
Especially
So,
Baltimore.
yeah, Baltimore's play calling almost as dubious
Yeah.
as the Eagles. Yeah, it's been bad. It's been really
Yeah.
bad. Like they're kind of barely ran against Cincinnati's the bottom level run defense on Thanksgiving night. So, and then, yeah, I'd be surprised if he plays. He's had 2 concussions in succession. That's true. That's true.
Could be,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
That's fair.
that just helps my Baltimore play.
Yeah, although he was out for the first Baltimore game too. So,
Yeah.
anyway,
No,
so yeah,
yes, I'm saying he returned last week.
right. He was out for the first Baltimore game, and so it's same
Let
opponent.
me see if I can. Yeah, let me see if I could call up and see what he's listed on the Don Best screen. If I can get up there.
Okay.
Sometimes I don't know if what the latest update is. They do have. Well, they are indicating that there was some injury news today, but it may just be. Let me see here. Okay, today is. Let's see. Okay, Baltimore. All right, let me see Cincinnati. Well, Hendrickson is out for the season for Cincinnati.
Yeah.
T. Higgins, this is as of the other day, midday. He's listed as questionable, concussion questionable.
Yeah. So
and that's another reason that I like Baltimore Hendrickson being out.
Yeah, I mean he's been out for a while, but that defense has improved over the past 3 weeks. I don't know if it's a fluke or it may regress. We'll see. But they have been better. I don't think they are the worst defense right now as of this week. So yeah, we'll see. It should be a fun game. Looking forward to it for sure. All right. Next game is Chargers at the Chiefs. This line has moved up to 5.5, and I guess the Sharps are playing the Chiefs again. But as you said, you think this is a good spot for the Chiefs, and I would agree. Not only losing to Houston that way, but it's anti-Charger. I think, as I said before, same thing that with the Eagles. They played a grueling defensive battle against the Eagles on Monday night, so they have they lose a week, or they basically lose a day traveling when they already lost a day because they played on Monday night, and going to overtime, playing all the snaps. Like, they have to be exhausted here. Now they play against the Chiefs, who are absolutely desperate for a win. And for the Chiefs, good news that Trey Smith looks like he's going to play. He practiced fully today. Unfortunately, Jawan Taylor and their other tackle who got hurt, Wandy Morris, they were both DNP today, so they could still have bad tackle play, which you're not going to help against Khalil Mack. But at least Trey Smith being back is enormous. So I am inclined to go with the Chiefs here. I think that they finally kind of get off the schneid here. I'm not excited to lay 5.5. But I just think this is such a bad spot for the Chargers and the Chiefs' desperation. I think they bounce back. So what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I lean to the Chiefs. I laid 4.5 yesterday. Reluctantly, because I was hoping it would go down. But it's not so much a play on the Chiefs as it is Spagnuolo taking advantage of the offensive line issues with the Chargers better than most other defensive coordinators have been able to this year. I was on the Chargers when I had them, plus the points. So I was not surprised by that result because and that was not necessarily a play against the Eagles, but in a sense it was, because I do like the Chargers defense. And I don't know what we're going to get here, but it's the kind of part where, I've been mentioning it to somebody. I said, we've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks that, this is where the Chiefs bounce back. This is where the Chiefs show they're the Chiefs. Well, if you've been saying that the last few weeks, you've lost 3-4 bets in a row.
Yeah.
And now at some point you'd think that everyone's going to be anti-Chiefs. It's not one of my stronger plays, but it is one that I think, I don't think the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs, but I don't think their mathematical probability ends here.
Yeah, so we agree. We've agreed on most of the games so far. The Ravens Bengals being the only outlier so far. So, all right, let's get to the next one, which is we have Redskins at Giants.
Well, I think you lean a little bit to the Falcons, didn't you?
Yeah, but that's, I don't know.
That's the other one,
it's like zero play. It's probably one of my least confident plays of the week. So not going to count that as
all right.
As a differing opinion. All right, so we have Redskins and Giants here. Giants are favored by 2.5. Marcus Mariota will start this game. The team doctors told the Dan Quinn not to start Jane Daniels, which is probably the right move.
They should just shut him down for the season. He's had too many injuries.
Yeah, it really pissed me off last week because I love Minnesota. As you know, I
Yeah.
was very much on Minnesota, and then it was announced that Jane Daniels is going to play. I'm like, oh no, like what if Daniels comes back? It was like the first time he, McLaurin, Debo, and a healthy offensive line were on the field at the same time. I was like, I don't want any part
That
of
was
this.
one of the more shocking results of the season.
Uh,
That 31-0 win.
yeah,
Considering how Minnesota and McCarthy had been playing, and
yeah.
considering that Daniels was coming back after waiting a couple of extra weeks to do so.
I wasn't surprised Minnesota scored a lot just because I talked about last week how they hadn't played a defense worse than 14th ever since McCarthy came back, and then Washington's 32nd. So I thought that they would score. But I was surprised that Washington didn't score at all.
Yeah.
They had that one drive at the beginning of the game where Debo dropped the pass in the end zone, but outside of that, they couldn't move the ball whatsoever. And so, yeah, Minnesota's defense has been great recently, and we'll get to them later. But I think the Giants are the play for me here. I'm not going to bet this one, but Jackson Dart against Washington's very slow linebackers seems like a big advantage for the Giants. And it is Marcus Mariota who, Mariota can play well against bad defenses, and I would qualify the Giants as a bad defense. However,
you would or you wouldn't?
I would. The Giants are 30th in defensive EPA, so obviously they're a terrible defense. But the one thing they do well is rush the passer well, and Mariota is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL when it comes to the dichotomy between kept clean and being under pressure. His completion percentage drops like 30 points. It is brutal. He's like night and day. And so if the Giants can get consistent pressure on him, then he could maybe fold and give the ball away to the Giants. So I'm going to be on the Giants here, but again, not a play of significance or anything. What are your thoughts on this game?
I'm pretty much the same way. It's probably a weaker opinion on the Giants than yours because I really don't have any intention on playing this game. I can't trust either team. I think the Giants are the better team. I wonder what Washington's mindset is. Have they just thrown in the towel for the season? The Giants may have also, and maybe now it's just a battle of who wants to get the better draft choice. Not that I think that's going to play into the outcome of this game. It's going to be a result of the outcome of this game. I think the Giants are the better team, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure I want to bet on it with other games more attractive that I feel more confident in.
Yeah, we agree again. Nice. Okay, let's we're jumping into the 4:00 games. Is there no 4:05 game? Because this says 4:25.
Everything says 4:25. Yes.
Huh. Interesting. Actually, I like that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate the 4:05 games. I really don't like them because the 1:00 games are still going on, and the bets don't settle online.
Yeah, and you want to see the end of these games rather than the start of the next game. Why not just start at 1:35?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but not every game goes 3.5 hours.
Yeah, although that Washington Minnesota game went 2 hours,
like 2 hours and 50 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, and then it ended at 3:40 Eastern time. It's already over. That's so funny. Washington off a shutout.
What did they play through halftime?
I guess we just didn't do commercials. Washington off a shutout. Tread carefully. Kind of like Minnesota was last week, right? We have these. We do the numbers. We could talk about them if you want for a second. So since 2010, teams coming off shutouts, previous points equals 0. And are there any other parameters for this? I don't think so, right? So.
I just have this year that just this year coming off being shut out in their last game, the teams are 4-0. If you allowed 0 points in the last game against a very small database, this year they're 3-1. So it's been a winning proposition overall to play on a team that was involved in a shutout last week.
Well, here it is. Since 2010, 46-31 against the spread.
If you've been the team that was shut out or administered the shutout.
Yeah. The teams coming off the shutout loss are 46-31 against the spread. So that. What
about the other way? What about the team that pitched the shutout?
Okay, so previous opponent points equals 0. So let's see. It is 40-40 against the spread.
Okay.
So nothing to learn there. Okay, so yeah, good point, Luke. Off the shutout. Now, I don't want to just like blindly take the Washington because of that. But at the same time, like maybe this is a reason not to bet the Giants. I already was not
Well,
going to bet
by
the
the way,
Giants.
this year when I say it's 4-0, 2-0 if the team coming off after being shut out, 2-0 if they were favored at home, 1-0 if they were a home underdog, and 1-0 if they were a road underdog. And Washington is, I guess, a road underdog here, though a very slight road underdog. But 1-0 doesn't mean anything. 4-0 really doesn't mean anything.
You're right. Yeah.
Um,
So
but
4-0
you're
against the
40.
spread.
What would you say? 41-26
41. Yeah.
for the
46.
team.
46 to 31.
46-31,
Yeah.
long term, 15 years. Really,
Since
15.
2010. Yeah. Yeah. 59% average line.
By the way, when you
2.7.
do that, does that include this season, or is that up through the end of last season?
That's this season too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this season we had the Falcons over the Redskins week 4, where they lost that 30-0.
What about, I know the Raiders had to be involved.
Yeah, the Raiders after that Chiefs game, they came back and covered against the Jaguars in that overtime game.
Yeah, that was the game where they went for 2 and the pass got blocked.
Yeah, the Titans, who got shut out by Seattle, I believe, and then they played at Arizona in that crazy game that knocked everyone out of.
No, but wasn't it Minnesota got shut out at Seattle? The Tennessee also?
Yeah, Tennessee. No, sorry, that was New Orleans, wasn't it? Tennessee got shut out by. Who was it? Who was it week 4 that shut out Tennessee? Let me see. Yeah, I was thinking the Saints. The Texans. Oh, right. The Texans shut them out 26.
Houston, yeah.
Right.
You're right. That was when it was 6-0 after 3, and
Right.
Houston scored 20 in the 4th. Yeah.
Right. And then they played that crazy game in Arizona where DeMarcado dropped the ball and Murray got hit in the face by the ball, and the interception was kicked in the end zone. I still can't believe that game. And then of course Minnesota got shut out with Max Brosmer. They came back and slaughtered Washington. So yeah, I mean this is
now, it used to be Mighty Max. It's now Meek Max.
Meager Max. Yeah, they so yeah, as you said, 4-0 against the spread this year, 3-1 straight up too. So they don't just cover, they win. All 3 of the 4 have been underdogs. The Titans were 7.5 point underdogs. The Raiders and Vikings were each 1.5 point underdogs, and the Falcons were 2.5 point favorites. So,
by the way, it also applies to because I chart 3 scoring categories: shutouts, scored or allowed under 10 points, and scored or allowed over 30 points. So, in the scored under 10 points in their last game, which obviously would apply if you were shut out, 20-13 overall, including 8-3 as road underdogs.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty good. Luke's saying Washington embarrassed. I do like Mariota here as a teaser leg. So, Washington going from 2.5 to 8.5 seems like a great teaser leg. I think that's a good one.
I can't see the Giants just blowing them out.
Yeah, I can't see that either. And I'm rooting for Washington here because I have a bet on the Giants to have the fewest wins in the NFL. So, so hopefully that comes through. The Tennessee winning last week really opened that up for me. So. They have a chance. Right now, it would be a dead heat, but still. Anyway, let's get to the next game.
Yeah, so I'm with you on that one. Now, is that a play for you or just an opinion?
No, just an opinion. It's
pretty much the same it is with me.
Yeah. Okay. Colts and Seahawks. This line is Seahawks minus 13.5. We don't know who's going to start for the Colts. I'm saying like Riley Leonard is PCL injury. He may, like they're saying like he might play.
Is Brett Rippey in the number 3 right now until Rivers comes off the practice squad?
Yeah, it's. I mean, either way, it's just a disaster for the Colts.
Yeah.
Riley Leonard, I thought was okay last week. Like he beat my expectations, but now he's injured, so it could be old man Rivers here, just out of the NFL for 5 years.
I think that's what they should play over the loudspeaker. By the way, when he walks on the field, old man River.
Yeah,
a little Frank Sinatra version.
Right, he's been out for 5 years. He's going to come back as a 44-year-old. He's older than me.
His son is older than Sam Darnold.
He's a grandfather.
Yeah.
He's a grandfather. He's going to play. Has there ever been a grandfather playing in the NFL? Maybe.
Yeah, I think George Blanda probably.
Blanda, right. He played until.
Brett Favre. Because I queried that. In 2010 when he was playing with the Vikings, he was a grandfather.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. You're right. Right. So it is. Look, it's rare. It's very rare. And he did not have a good year that year. And I don't suspect Philip Rivers is going to do well in Seattle. And it's not like, okay, if they're playing a bad defense.
Depends how well he's protected.
Yeah, it depends.
Because apparently he still has the arm working fine.
We'll see. When he starts getting hit, we'll see. So it'd be one thing if they were playing like Washington or the Giants and they're playing a horrible defense, but this is the number one defense in the NFL by most metrics. And they just made Max Brosmer look silly with a 26-0 win. I don't see how this is different.
Made him look like Bromo Seltzer. Max Bromo Seltzer.
He was awful in that game, and I think whether it's Rivers or an injured Leonard or Brett Rippon.
That's why I'm surprised Minnesota did not do anything after Wentz went down, the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Because McCarthy was still injured, and the Giants had Wilson, Jameis Winston, and obviously Dart.
Yeah, Winston would have been fun on the Vikings with Jeff Jefferson and Addison and Hawkinson. That would have been nice.
Or even Wilson.
Yeah. So anyway, I like Seattle a lot here. I don't see how the Colts compete with this miserable quarterbacking. And it's not just the Colts offense. The Colts defense is injuries. Sauce Gardner's out. DeForest Buckner's we think he's gonna be out. I saw he was limited, but even if he returns, he may not be 100% yet. And so I think about it this way: like Minnesota went into Seattle with a similar offense, and they couldn't score. And Seattle, they won 26-0, and they didn't even have their best performance. Like they were sluggish offensively, but just saw Minnesota shut out Washington. Like Minnesota's defense is really good. Indianapolis's defense without Gardner and without Buckner or an injured Buckner is not as good as Minnesota's defense. So I think Seattle wins easily here, despite the fact that they have the Rams next week. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, well, it's just the game against the Rams next week that has me a little bit concerned that they may leave that back door open in the fourth quarter if they're up something like 27-10 or something like that. But it's the only side I could play. I would like to make a case for the Colts, but I really can't without knowing the quarterback situation. And of course, you pointed out those defensive injuries, and I've been on Seattle since early in the season when nobody was yet on the bandwagon.
Yeah, you had him number 2 in your power rankings like a month and a half ago.
And it's still there, right behind the Rams. I have about maybe 1.1 points separated the two of them, which makes sense, especially when you consider that the first game was decided by 2 points, and they play next week. So, no, I like Seattle. It's probably somewhere in between a solid lean and a definite play.
Seattle over Minnesota was my pick of the month in November. This is not quite pick them on territory because the spot was better for Seattle in that game than this one. And I agree, like that's like something in the back of my mind where I'm like, they do that, the Rams. But every time I think like, is there a backdoor cover possibility? I think like Philip Rivers just heaving the ball poorly and then having it pick six, or Brett Rippon just fumbling and Seattle taking it back. Like I think this could easily be like 48-3 or something.
And in Indianapolis, they don't have an easy path. Next week they host San Francisco, then they host Jacksonville in a rematch of the game last week. The end of the season at Houston.
Yeah, it's
that game in Houston probably decides the division title and how many teams from the AFC South make the playoffs.
You don't think Jacksonville will win the division? I think Jacksonville will win the division, right?
I still like Houston. I like Houston beating Jack. Do they play Jackson? No, Indiana. I did like Indianapolis to beat Jacksonville, but now I don't know. So let me see. Houston.
Like Jacksonville's schedule is so easy outside of the one Denver game. Like they have the Jets and Titans at home.
Well, here's who Houston. Here's who Houston has. Mm-hmm. Houston has. No, they lead by a game, don't they?
Jacksonville
by one game.
Mm-hmm.
Houston has Arizona at home, Las Vegas at home. You have to figure they're going to win those.
Right.
And they close the season at home against Indianapolis, which you have to figure they're favored to win now. Their other game is the road game at the Chargers in Week 17.
Right.
Okay. Jacksonville has the Jets this week. They should win. They close against Tennessee. They should win. And then their two games, one is at Indianapolis, which they should win. and they could easily lose that game at Denver because Denver. This will be in week 18. Says week 16.
Yeah.
Denver will still be playing for the number 1 seed, most likely against New England. So if I take a look at which of these teams, at how these teams are likely to finish, I give Houston a better chance at winning all 4 games, which would include the game against the Chargers on the road, than I would give Jacksonville of winning all 4 games because they have a game at Denver. Now, I don't know how the tiebreaker works if they both end up tied because they split their season series.
I don't know about that either. So Houston has the better conference record I'm seeing. So I guess that would favor them.
That might be it. What's their division record? I mean,
well, neither team lost to Tennessee, and
right. Jacksonville still plays Tennessee, I believe.
Right. So and then Houston against Jacksonville was a split, and so against Houston and the Colts, that was Houston and the Colts play week 18.
Yeah, and Houston already has the first win against them.
Right. And then Jags and Colts, the same thing. Jaguars beat the Colts once, and they play them again, so they could have the same divisional record. So, yeah, no, I get that. I think that it's fair. Houston could possibly win all 4 games. It's definitely possible.
I think because of the one game that both teams, that each team rather could be competitive in is Houston's game at the Chargers and Jacksonville's game at Denver.
Did you see what that line was? Jaguars at Denver.
I have not yet. Have you seen it?
Yes. Do you want to guess what it is?
Jacksonville at Denver?
Yeah.
I would say it's probably Denver under a field goal.
Yeah, you're right. It's 2.5. Denver minus 2.5. So, anyway, we don't have that line on the Texans Chargers yet, but you would think Houston would had the advantage against the Chargers.
Well, again, everybody has an advantage against the Chargers because of the home field.
Right. It's true.
Now, I don't know how well Houston travels. It's not like Philadelphia or Pittsburgh,
right?
Or the Raiders, or the Chiefs.
3 teams, and all the 3 teams lost there. So, you mentioned the Eagles, Steelers, and Raiders all.
Yeah.
Lost
So let's cut down a little bit on that home field advantage thought.
Yeah. I guess just it's 0 or something.
Either that or Jim Harbaugh makes that much of a difference.
I would think so. If this were Brandon Staley, they would not be 9-4. I promise you that.
More like 4-9.
That's probably right. Okay. Let's get to the next game, which is Packers at Broncos. Speaking of these Broncos, the Packers are 2.5-point favorites in Denver. I don't trust this Denver team. Like I just don't. Like they've had so many underwhelming performances this year. And it's like time and again.
But they managed to win the close games. I think they've only had one game decided by more than 7 points.
So they managed to win bad games against bad teams, though. Like
against all competition, they've won 10 in a row.
Yeah, but
they beat Kansas City.
Yeah, but Kansas City hasn't won a game since. Kansas City hasn't won a game since. Like
Denver beat them up.
It's like that. Well, it came down to the wire too. It's like that the Oklahoma win over Alabama. It's like, oh, cool, they beat Alabama, but like Alabama's sucked ever since. So it's the same thing. Like I'm like how impressed can you be by that win? I don't know. So like they barely beat.
I love the Broncos in this game. I'll say it right now. I love the Broncos. Yeah, and I'll mention a negative for the Packers. They're coming off 3 straight divisional games, including that test against Chicago, and they got Chicago next week. Horrible spot for the Packers.
See, I think that this could be a Super Bowl preview, and I think they'd be up for playing Denver. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Like it's hard to gauge motivation.
How will the altitude affect the Packers?
We'll see.
They're both okay in cold weather.
Yeah, I mean,
how will the second half? How will the Packers play in the second half? How will Jordan Love play?
Well, how will Bo Nix play when he's pressured?
Bo Nix will play his typical game. He'll come through when you need him in the fourth quarter.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, he has come through clutch in the fourth quarter, albeit against bad competition, but still.
It's 11 guys on the field who are NFL athletes, the best of the best.
Yeah, but still, like he hasn't played well against bad teams. Like he scored 0 points against the Giants. He scored 13 points against the Jets. He scored 10 and 17 points against the Raiders.
What do you mean he scored 0 against the Giants?
Well, it's through 3 quarters. I mean, like
game isn't 3 quarters. Game is 60 minutes.
Yeah, but
and they all count.
Well, I mean,
they all count.
Right, but it's
well. How about the Eagles, who for a long time and maybe even still now, they don't play the second half.
I'm not saying the Eagles are good either.
Well, I mean, they are. We know they are. Come on.
The Eagles are good? What do you mean?
Not as good as last year? Of course not. They're a good team.
No, the Eagles. No, the Eagles are far worse than they were last year.
Yeah.
So, but still, like, I'd say the Eagles and Broncos are kind of similar at this point.
No, Broncos have better defense.
I don't think that.
And I can't. True? And I can't say that. I can't say that Philadelphia has the better offense. Not this year.
I'd say Eagles. Eagles. I think Eagles had the better defense than Denver. Maybe not with Jalen Carter. Maybe not with Jalen Carter out. But EPA wise, Eagles 7th in defense. Broncos 12th in defense.
Yeah. Well, that shows you how that stat is manufactured.
I don't know. The Broncos have played no one. I want to let's look at their schedule. I want to pop it up. How they played, because I know they played a lot of bad teams. Have they beaten anyone good? Let's take a look.
Who have the Eagles beaten? They beat Kansas City, but you don't think Kansas City no good according to you.
Why are we comparing them to the Eagles? I don't. The Eagles.
Well, because we're talking about the defense of the two teams.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying that, like. So Denver's schedule, we can skip the first game. As week 1, I don't really count, and that was not an impressive game anyway. Yeah. So they lose at Indianapolis. The game is back and forth. So they
Which
lose.
Game is that? Which game is that?
Week 2 at Indianapolis.
Denver, yeah, throw that game out because that was the one where the field goal got retried. So that's basically an even game. That was a toss-up game.
Yeah, and look, it was so long ago anyway. It's so hard to take these September games seriously. All right, so then the Chargers game, they lose that one. That was back
by
when
3.
The Chargers were good, right? They destroyed Cincinnati. That was Jake Browning, not Joe Flacco. Then they win at Philly. They were down 17-3. They come back. It was an impressive comeback for sure. And so they beat the Eagles, but at the time it looked better. But the Eagles just haven't really played.
No, the Eagles are still a good team. Eagles are, what are they, 8-5? They were 8-2. They've lost 3 in a row. Who they lose those? Who they lose those 3 games to? Dallas, Chicago, and the Chargers.
Chargers, yeah.
Two teams that are playoff teams.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago and the Chargers.
Yeah.
And Dallas, which is going to probably just barely miss being a wild card.
Right. So, okay. So they beat the Jets 13-11. It's not a good performance there. They beat the Giants.
It's a win. Look, winning 13-11 is the same as winning 41-40. Yeah, in one case, the offense stinks and the defense bails you out. In the other case, the defense stinks and the offense bails you out.
Yeah, but we're trying to determine how good this team is, and like barely beating the Jets. That's not good. And
a win is a win. You do what a football game is made up of 120 plays. 8 or 10 of them are going to be really decisive and maybe poorly called, but over the entire body of the work. And good teams find a way to win games late, and that's what Denver's done. That's what Chicago has done.
But I'll raise.
When you take a look at these, these are not a good. That's based on their potential. You don't always play to your potential. Well, the sum is not always greater than the individual parts.
Yeah, but outside of one game, which we'll get to, I can't say I'm overly impressed with anything Denver's done this year. Okay. And
you weren't impressed with Seattle for a number of months.
Yeah, but Seattle has proven themselves. Denver has not proven anything.
Denver's 11-2, has a chance for the number 1 seed, and yes, they're also going up an 11-2 team. And what has New England proved? But they're 11-2. You take advantage of the schedule you're given.
Yeah, but New England's actually won by margin in many of their games. They've looked.
Doesn't matter. Counts the same.
Not in determining how good a team is for handicapping purposes.
Sure, it does.
I don't think so. Like if you have one team that's 11-2, it's barely beaten bad teams over and over again, and you have another team that's 11-2.
Denver is 5-8 against. Denver's 5-8 against the spread. Green Bay's 6-7. 1 game difference.
Okay. Well, I thought we were comparing them to the Patriots, but.
Patriots are 9-4 because they were not being given the value that we thought they were going to have early in the season.
Yeah, but they've also won by double digits in many of the games.
Against which teams?
the same teams that Denver's faced, the same exact teams. So I don't know. And so anyway, you say win is a win. I'll counter with good teams win, great teams cover. So they've not covered these games, as you said, 5-8 against the spread. So the Giants game, they're down 19-0. I'll forgive them for that because it was a travel game.
They're coming back,
from Europe, right? So they crushed Dallas, which is the one game where I'm like, okay, that was really impressive.
Okay.
And they come back next week. They play Houston. They beat Houston 18-15. That was Davis Mills playing for injured.
Don't make excuses. Don't say excuses. Davis Mills is probably just as good as Stroud have been playing up to that time.
Well, I had Denver in that game too, and that was just like
I don't penalize. If you win games 18-16 or 18-15, you got a good defense. I'm not going to penalize teams with great defenses for scoring enough to win. Like Houston.
They have a. I don't know if Denver has a great defense. They have a good defense. So the next game, 10-7.
Well, that's because you use that silly, what is it, EPA, whatever it is. What's the statistic?
EPA. I trust it more than yards per play. But so anyway,
yards per play. Yards per play is a nice measure of what you do when you have the football, whether you run 50 plays or 80 plays. EPA is a manufactured statistic. Again, tell me the ingredients of EPA.
It's how it determines how more likely the teams.
I know that. How is that determined? What ingredients go into that? I think like they say, this team has a 16% chance of making the playoffs. How do they determine it? Do they base it on likely outcome performances? Is it an if this and if that happens?
I don't know. Metrics are used a lot in sports, and they're
and there are major fallacies with a lot of them. Because they're not taking into account the context.
Yeah, Luke pointed out something important here. Mills stepped into that game. He was rusty, and he didn't have a full week of practice. So Mills played very poorly in the second half of that game. Like he couldn't complete a single first down. It was awful. So anyway, they beat the Raiders 10-7. What do you do? And then so this game against the Chiefs at the time it looked really good, but the Chiefs haven't won a game since. So
maybe part of it had to do with the deflated egos they have after losing to a divisional rival that they'd beaten so many times, other than the game last year at the end that didn't mean anything to the Chiefs.
Or they're just not a good team. I don't know.
No, they're not as good a team as they've been in the past, and we've been saying that all season.
Yeah, that's true. We agree. They're 6-7.
But it's still a win.
They have as many wins as the Dolphins, and they only have 4 more wins than the Titans. So, and then they beat Washington 27-26. That defense did not look good in that game.
No.
And that was Mariota, not even Daniels. And then last week they beat the Raiders 24-17.
All right, let's take a look let's take a look at Green Bay. Let's do the same analysis for Green Bay.
Well, I know Green Bay has been underwhelming for most of the year. However, the past 3 weeks, I think, have been very positive for the Packers, and I think that they're
they beat Minnesota. Big deal. They beat Detroit for a second time. Okay, and then who'd they beat last week? Chicago, in a game that they arguably could have. Well, they could have. Well, if J-Love Williams, if the play call were not for the pass and they went down and tried to make the first down. The point is, and obviously the number was right because the number was basically depending upon whether it was 6.5 or 7 involved. It came close to that. But I think the Bears played better than expected in that game because I know a lot of people were expecting Green Bay to win that game by double digits.
Yeah. They won their past 3 games by margin, all by 7 or more, which again the Broncos haven't really done all that often. And these who
the Broncos played the last 3 weeks?
It was the Raiders, Redskins, and who was the other one? I think it was Chiefs. Was it Chiefs?
Yeah, maybe in the Chiefs.
Chiefs too. Yeah. And all 3 of those teams have losing records, and 2 of these teams have winning records. For the Packers opponents, I just think the Packers are playing better right now than they have been. And look, if this were 3 weeks ago, I would agree with you because the Packers had so many underwhelming performances this year. But I think with Christian Watson getting healthy, Jaden Reed being back, it looks like the defense is playing better, kind of finally living up to its potential. I don't know if look, three games is a small sample size for their supposed improvement. They could easily regress and lose this game.
They've won 4 in a row, I think, right? The Giants, Minnesota, Detroit, Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so anyway, I just think they're playing better right now. I don't even love the Packers. Like we're arguing this. Like I'm not even a big side on the Packers. I'm leaning toward them a little bit. It might be small play, but I do think they are playing better football right now than Denver. And as far as the spots concerned, that's an unknown to me. Like I said, I think handicapping motivation is very difficult, just because we're not in the locker room.
It's not handicapping motivation. It's the amount of energy expended in winning those 3 division games. A lot went into the preparation. A lot went into the execution. The Detroit game was well, Detroit had their chances in that game. Green Bay won that 31-24, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was a similar type game to Chicago, because every time Green Bay scored, Chicago was able to match it. But then again, every time Chicago scored, Green Bay was able to match it. And at the end, Chicago had a beautiful opportunity to send the game into overtime, which of course they came up short on that. So that was basically an evenly played game when it comes down to the scoring flow of that. Green Bay is playing well, but they also had some stinkers earlier in the season.
Yeah.
Losing to Cleveland, losing to Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
I'll take Sean Payton over LaFleur at this point of the season too.
I agree. I mean, like the Green Bay was awful at points earlier in the season.
Remember they were the Super Bowl favorites after weeks 1 and 2 after they beat Detroit and Washington on the road.
Right, and then after that, they
started to play a little better. Yeah.
After week 2, they were extremely disappointing, but the past 3 weeks they've been better. And as far as energy, that's interesting. But,
and Denver keeps winning. And by the way, if Denver wins by a point, they cover this game.
Yeah.
Or if they lose by 2.
I think if Denver had Green Bay scheduled, they would not be 11-2.
No way of knowing. Games take on their own identity.
I mean, there's no way of knowing anything. We just have to handicap the game as best we can.
Yeah, but we can't say what they would have done. People say if this, if that. That's fine. The if there was there and they didn't do it. They count. The ifs that don't come true count just as much as the ones that do. I can't play the if game. I have to go by what was. Now, you want to say what the likelihood of those things occurring again? That's a little bit different. We still don't know. How many times have you handicapped the game and you were off by 40 points? It happens. Not often, but it happens.
Sure.
No. All I can say is that both with the Bears and with the Broncos, it may be ugly. They find ways to win those games when the game is on the line for the most part.
Yeah.
I'd rather play on a team that happens to win games close late than a team that wins by double digits. Ask the Giants when they went up against the Patriots in the perfect season.
Yeah, I will say this: that Denver has found ways to win, but against like horrible teams for the most part.
It doesn't matter. So you can only beat who you're ahead of. The fact that you beat a team by 20 and the other team beats that same team by 10 or 5 doesn't really prove anything. Because each game is a snowflake, as they say.
That's true.
Another saying I hate, by the way.
So the divisional gauntlet, as Luke's pointing out here, is interesting. I want to maybe counter with something,
go ahead.
and maybe I don't know if this will affect your line of thinking, but they did win 3 in a row in the division. However, after the Lions game, they had more time off than usual, and so it wasn't like bang bang bang. They did have a break in between that and Chicago. So does that change your opinion on the being a bad spot?
No.
Okay.
No. It's still a bad spot because those 3 games were so important. And to prove the point, Green Bay was trailing Chicago before they played Minnesota. They played Minnesota, Detroit, and Chicago. They're now ahead of Chicago. That took a lot of energy.
Yeah.
It took a lot of focus.
So to me, I just think that if I'm the Packers, just the mindset, I'm like, okay, this team's 11-2. We have to bring it here. This could be a Super Bowl preview.
And the Broncos are thinking the same thing. Right now, we're tied with New England, and we may know they may know the result of the New England game when this one kicks off. Yeah. They got to keep winning to keep pace with New England or get a game ahead. Right now, they hold the tiebreaker. So this game is arguably more important to the Broncos than it is to Green Bay, because Green Bay can wrap up the division almost with a win over Chicago next week in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely true. This game's almost irrelevant for the division, as you could say, because if they beat Chicago next week, then
it's theirs. Yeah.
Although if they lose to Chicago, then this game is certainly relevant. So,
no, if they lose to Chicago, this game would have been relevant because it would have been past tense.
Right. Right.
Because the Packers are not thinking, gee, you know what? This game's really important because if we lose to Chicago, they don't think that way.
Yeah.
What they think of is, you know what? If we don't get a win here, no big deal because it's this next week's game against Chicago that matters. I don't think they think that way either. But that's the reality of it.
Yeah. So bringing up Denver reminds me of the Vikings from a couple years back. That
could be,
2023. I think. Was it 23? I thought it was 22.
Maybe it was 22. It was 22. Yeah.
They were 14-3, and then they lost to the Giants in the opening round of the playoffs.
It was Dable's first year.
I think that's a great comparison. I would say that they're pretty similar. Like fraudulent record, and then they
the next year they didn't have a good record, and then last year they came back and they did it. Now it was a different quarterback because they went from Kirk Cousins to
Darnold.
Was it Darnold last year? Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of funny.
So it's nice that we have a good disagreement on this one. It was getting too boring, I think, for everybody. Everybody just woke up now. Yeah.
Or like slightly.
I could see the Packers beating the Broncos. I don't think it'll happen, but I could certainly see it. The Packers are a good team.
Yeah.
But this is a spot for Denver. Again, I mean, they don't win too many shootouts because they're not involved in too many shootouts because their defense keeps them in games. And again, Peyton knows quarterbacks, and he knew something about Bo Nix.
I'm not a Bo Nix fan. I just it just thinks and dunks the whole time. I don't know, but
he does what it takes to win. Not all quarterbacks are going to pass for 300 yards a game. They're not all going to be Shedeur Sanders.
I mean, 200 to 1 is Shedeur. 200 to 1 is Shedeur. That's pretty good from the boss.
So, no, I mean, it's the thing is, and then this is part of it. I don't agree with the Packers being favored in this game. I can understand if it's a pick 'em. You have to respect what the Broncos have done. You have to respect that they're playing at home, and the game has as much, if not more, importance than the Packers.
So we will also disagree on the projected point spread. I was way off on this line, but not the way you were. I made Green Bay -5.5 in this game.
You made them 5.5. People would run to the windows on Broncos,
and they probably lose.
Well, we'll see.
Green Bay. I don't know. I don't know about the motivation. That's the one thing. But what I do believe.
Well, let me ask you. Considering your thoughts on Chicago throughout the season, did Green Bay impress you against Chicago, or did they just play football?
I thought it was a neutral result. I didn't raise them or drop them in my power ranking.
I moved Chicago up maybe, I think between half a point and a point, simply because it was on the road and they basically covered the point spread.
I moved Chicago up because their defense got healthier. They had.
Well, not only I moved them because they also played a good team and were competitive in a good game. Had they lost this game 31-13, I probably would have dropped them, saying that okay, they finally faced a team that in an important game, a division rival for the first time, and I'm not going to say they didn't show, but they were not in position to win the game the way that they actually were, which is a good indicator.
Yeah, Chicago runs the ball so well. It's pretty incredible. Their offensive line is great. I just don't trust Caleb Williams. Not against Chicago here, but I just have Green Bay ranked substantially higher than Denver. I don't have Denver I have them as like a middle of the pack team. That's why.
Let me see where I have them.
We have Denver
I know I have them. I actually have these teams rated virtually even. I think I have Green Bay on a neutral field rated a half point better. The fact that the game is if this game were in Green Bay, I would have Green Bay favored by 3.2. Because it's in Denver, I have Denver favored by 2.1.
Okay.
I do have actually Denver having mathematically, I have them with the highest home field advantage. No, I'm sorry, I have Cleveland actually. And Cleveland's home field advantage is high because they lose by less at home than they do on the road.
Well,
which I don't. It's not necessarily a home field advantage as much as it is a road disadvantage. Well, they have a disadvantage everywhere, but they play better at home, even though they lose, than they do on the road.
Yeah, They should play in London every game because they almost covered against the Vikings.
Yeah.
They were ahead for most of the game, so maybe
Yeah. No,
they
but
should just
I
go
do have
to-
Green Bay. I think these teams are virtually even, like I say, on a neutral field.
Okay, I have them.
Which, by the way, would tell me, and I think I just said the numbers, would have me favor Denver at home.
Yeah, yeah, I have them pretty far apart.
And by the way, these ratings are based on who you beat and by how much.
Okay.
So it takes into account margin and quality of opposition.
So, would you have both teams mediocre then? Because they've like Denver has.
No, I have. If you use the standard rating like Evan uses, he uses like -3, +3. But if you put it to a scale of 100, it'd be 103 and 97. And I use a scale of 100 as being average or neutral. I have Denver at 103.03, so that's above average. I have Green Bay at 103.60.
What's the highest team rated?
Highest team is the Rams at 113.8.
Okay. What's the lowest team?
The lowest team are Las Vegas Raiders, 89.79.
Okay.
So that basically would say on a neutral field, the Rams would be about 24-point favorites over the Raiders.
Okay. So you have 89 and 113. Are the two teams?
The two extremes. The two extremes.
So you do have. Well, hold on. So you have 89 and 113.
It's 24.
Right. So.
Yeah.
You would have is very slightly above average teams then. Packers.
Yeah. Well, let me put it this way: I have 15 teams at 100 or higher, and 17 teams at lower than 100.
Okay.
Yeah. So based upon this, I would say that if you divided it into thirds, like 11, 11, and 11, of course it's 11, 11, and 10, I would say that these teams are basically at the bottom of the first third or at the very top of the second third.
Okay.
I'll tell you who I have rated. I'll just read it down the names without giving you the numbers. Rams, sure. Seattle, Houston, Indianapolis. Again, that's because of their season-to-date work. I would not necessarily rely this number with the quarterback situation. Mm-hmm. Rams, Seattle, Houston, Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Kansas City, Detroit, San Francisco, Buffalo, New England, Green Bay, Denver. Those are the top dozen. I don't even have Philadelphia up there. I have them. Philadelphia's only outscored their opponents by 18 points this year.
That's wild. Yeah, because I was like the mean or the median between 89 and 130, or was it 113? Is 101?
101. Yeah,
it's 101. So, and you have both teams at 103. You said. So
both teams about 103. Yeah, so slightly above average.
Yeah, slightly above average teams. Okay. That's where I have Denver. I have Denver we've been arguing about Denver for 20 to 30 minutes, and we both agree that they're slightly above average.
Well, yeah, but it's Green Bay also.
Right. That's the question. We should be arguing about Green Bay and not Denver. We agree on that.
Well, the thing is, what I'm saying is, and then my numbers have it again, because they don't take into account the circumstances under which the game was played, and they do have somewhat built in the performances at home and on the road, but I use a strict number that I developed for each team. Yeah. My biggest number, as I said, is Cleveland at 5. It's interesting because my top two numbers are actually two lousy teams. Home field, Cleveland 5.24, Jets 4.59, because they're so bad on the road and they're not as bad at home. And then I have Denver at 4.24. I actually have Seattle minus 1.01.
Yeah, because they play better on the road.
Because they play better on the road. And by the way, my methodology is I take into account only division games, but I go back 6 years and I weight them. Because you play basically 3 home games and 3 road games against the same team. Now, obviously, the same team you face, like, for example, the Commanders and Eagles are going to meet twice in the last 3 weeks, I believe.
Yeah.
You're basically playing the same team.
Right.
Okay, same roster, same personnel. There obviously injuries are going to be involved a little bit. And it's certainly if Philly played Washington in September and then they played them in December, they're still the same opponent with largely the same roster, but these injuries are going to be, considerably different. Because you may play better teams at home than you do on the road. And so if you do that, you're going to clearly have a much better home field number than you will a road number. But that's related to inherent differences in the quality of the teams. The quality of Washington on the road versus the quality of Washington at home is not going to be that much different in most situations. Now, the clear example is, well, yeah, Jaden Daniels in and Jaden Daniels out is going to be a significant difference. But when you consider the entire rosters and the injuries affecting both sides, it's more even than just saying this team averages 5.8 points per game better at home and they lose by 3.6 on the road, because that involves much more variation in the quality of competition.
Mm-hmm. I just find it funny that we argued about Denver for half an hour and we agree on how to rank them.
But we disagree on who we like in the game.
Because we disagree on the Packers. That's what we should have been arguing about the whole time. The Packers, not the Broncos. So as far as the Packers, I guess
your main thing for Green Bay is based upon current form.
Yes.
I'm basing my play on Denver based upon the situation and the fact of how they've been very consistent all year in winning close games.
Right. As far as Green Bay is concerned, I don't know how much I trust them, but I do know that they have great talent on both sides of the ball. And earlier in the year, they were not living up to the talent at all, except for the first 2 weeks.
Yet they've had that talent all year, albeit some of that talent has been injured, which is the case with every team.
Right. But the past,
but the question is, do you handicap based on potential or do you handicap based on results? Probably a little bit of both.
I think you have to do a little bit of both. But the past 3 weeks, we've had the results and we have the potential of the Packers. Again, 3 weeks is a small sample size. Maybe they regress, but just based on how they played the past 3 weeks, they are playing to the level that we expected entering the year and the level we expected after those first 2 weeks. And so if they keep playing at this level, then I do think Green Bay should be favored by a lot over Denver. However, like I said,
Denver's not playing poorly. They're just not winning by margins, but they're doing what they're supposed to do, which is win games.
Yeah, I'd say they're playing it.
They are winning games for the most part. They are winning most of their games recently because of their defense.
Yeah, we would agree. They're playing at an above average level, which like Green Bay was for most of the year, but they've gotten hot recently. And can they keep this hot streak going? We'll see. Again, this is not a big play for me. Is this a big play for you?
Yes.
It is. Okay. So you feel stronger about this game than I do.
This is like my play on Houston against Kansas City last week. My play on Houston the last couple of weeks. Okay. I've been riding Houston a lot since their 0-3 start.
Yeah, I've been.
I realized it was just a matter of time before they, and again, as you get deeper and deeper into the season, and we're seeing it with Philadelphia, and we're seeing it with Kansas City, and we're seeing a little bit of the reverse of it with Cincinnati because of Burrow being out. But these teams that have played all these extra playoff games over the years, it catches up a little bit. You're not as fast as you were. You're not as young as you were. You've taken a lot more hits over the last 5-6 seasons than the teams you're playing. All that adds up. And it gets more pronounced as the season draws on. Yeah, that doesn't mean that, for example, Kansas City doesn't have a great game or two left in them. They probably do. We don't know when it'll be. We don't know where it will be. But we've been saying that about Green Bay for Kansas City for the past month or so.
Yeah, and hopefully this is the week. I haven't been on them.
Hopefully it is.
Yeah. So
because to me, the numbers. Let me see where my numbers are here, because I use a number of different models that I use. So let me see if I can find that here. I may not have it here, but I'll see if I can find it.
What number are you looking for?
No, I'm looking for some analysis I did earlier today, and I think I have it here. But we can go on, and I'll find it. I'll come back where I used several different models that actually I think had the Chargers favored by 1 in the game against Kansas City this week.
Okay. All right. Well, we can get to the next game. We disagree on this one.
By the way, there are some times where you let me see. Yeah. Here. This is the game where I actually have. I made the line on one model that I use, which again is based on comparative analysis of scores. So it doesn't take into a lot of the factors of how you get to those scores, which is really what you do as a handicapper. How are you expected to get to scores by running, by defending the pass, whatever. In this game, I actually had. I think I had the Chargers 2 and 42.
Okay.
So that would lead me to a play on the Chargers. Sometimes you have a sense of some of these games.
Okay.
It's kind of like I'll go back to the very first game we talked, or the second game, Cardinals and the Texans. Texans have been playing very well lately. They're due to regress. They're due to throw in a clunker at some point. Maybe this is the week against Arizona, where they win but they don't cover. Could be the same thing with Green Bay. They're due for a little bit of regression. They've been playing so well. I mean, okay, you talk about let's talk about New England and Denver again. They're both 11-2.
Yeah.
Okay, Denver's won 11 games in a row, but they have not played well in all 11 games, but they've managed to win. So maybe, they've spread things out a little bit as opposed to some other. And same thing with New England. New England was playing well. They're 11-2, but they didn't play well in all 11 wins. But they played well enough to get the wins in some of those games when they weren't playing well. Now you wonder, maybe Green Bay. Look, Green Bay's won 4 in a row. They've played well in all except, I would say, the Giants game, but that was the first of the 4. Right. So maybe they're due to bounce back a little bit and not play as well. Well, is there a reason for that? Well, maybe it's because they're playing a non-division game and they're coming off a win against an opponent they're going to see next week. Or maybe they're just going to run out of steam after playing 3 really good games in a row. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true. We don't know. I do like the fact that they had that mini bye, but I don't know how much of a factor that will be, but it could be something. And the fact that Denver has a great record, like if Denver were 7-6 or 6-7, I would definitely be on.
If Denver were 7-6 or 6-7, I could justify 5.5 for Green Bay if Green Bay had the record that they have now.
Well, I was saying I would justify the potential that the Packers would look past Denver if they had that record. But the fact that Denver is 11-2, and this is the marquee 4:00 game, I believe this is going to be the big
Lions and Rams.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Well, I think both. I think this is a weekend where both networks have the
marquee man. Yeah, I mean, you take a look at it. Bills and Patriots, a great game. Ravens and Bengals is a really compelling game. Even to a certain extent, Chargers and Chiefs. And then you got Packers and Broncos, and you got the Rams and the Lions. And well, there's 5 or 6 just right off the bat that could qualify for marquee games in most weeks.
Yeah, and you forgot Panthers Saints as well. That's definitely a marquee game.
It is in New Orleans and Carolina.
Right. Or really the Sunday night game of Vikings Cowboys. You had all these great games, and let's keep Vikings Cowboys in there. That makes no sense. But anyway, let's get to the next game, which is Panthers at Saints. This is same line as the last one. The Panthers are -2.5 in New Orleans.
On the road, yeah.
And so both these teams coming off wins.
Which by the way, I'd be interested, and maybe I know your answer, but it seems as though the Packers and the Broncos figures to be a more competitive game than the Panthers and the Saints, and yet the line is the same.
It depends how what competitive in what way. What do you mean, like close game or is it?
I think the difference between the Packers and the Browns is not nearly as great as the difference between the Panthers and the Saints.
So you think there's a big edge for the Panthers in this game?
I think the Panthers are much better than the Saints.
Okay. I don't know if I agree with that. I think I
don't necessarily have these teams rated that far apart. I think I only have them rated, but considering how they've been playing, Saints had a nice game last week. They've been playing better.
Yeah, I mean,
I had them last week against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, so did I. And the Saints. I had the Saints against the Panthers too. They beat them 17-7 just a few weeks ago. It wasn't that long ago. I mean, Bryce Young was incredible against the Rams before they had their bye. But as you say, these teams have 3 games each year where they play way above their level, and 3 games each year where they play way below. And I think if you told me, okay, the Broncos, even if they're picking, but let's say the Broncos are 2-point favorites at home over the Packers, and the Panthers are 2.5 point road favorites over the Saints, I would not question either line. But because you have the Packers 2 on the road at a historically difficult place to play, and you got the fastest favored by the same number over the Saints, even though the Saints are not as good a team as the Panthers, Broncos, and Packers, I have questions about both lines. Okay. We already know that I have the Packers.
By more, but that's
better than Denver, and I don't have the Panthers and Saints that far apart. I do have the Panthers as a better team than the Saints, but it's not that much better. So, actually, in my my model that I mentioned before, I actually have the Broncos favored by 3 over Green Bay with a total of 37. Okay,
and I do like the under in that game, by the way.
Okay. All right. So anyway, we have, as you said, teams play above and below their expectations 3 times each year, around 3 times each year. And I think that the Rams Panthers game was a confluence of both. Like the Rams were a complete no show. We saw them bounce back
Yeah.
against Arizona greatly last week, and Carolina, they played their best game of the year. Granted, they had a win against the Packers too, but they were much better in that Rams game than they were against the Packers. And so I would expect regression from the Panthers. I don't think they're that good. I mean, they lost 17-7 to the Saints at home, and I think that was more of what this Panthers team than what we saw against the Rams. I don't trust their defense. I don't trust Bryce Young. Now maybe Tedero McMillan gets better after the bye. It helps the bye, helps the rookies, but still, I don't expect much for Carolina in this game, especially given that they had that huge win before their bye, and they've had 2 weeks to hear about how great they are.
And they've also had 2 weeks to prepare for the Saints, who all of a sudden are playing good football.
Yeah, I guess.
And
so,
they are in the wild card battle.
Yeah, generally teams coming off wins and the bye have not done well. Actually, the bye hasn't been good for teams that aren't really coached well. And by the way, I forgot to mention for the Patriots game, not that this helps out our case, but Mike Vrabel is 6-0 against the spread off a bye. So it's like a coach by coach.
You mean like Andy Reid?
Yeah, exactly. So
how did he do off the bye? How did he do off the buys this week? How did he do off his full bye
this year? I mean, not well.
Who did they play?
I'm
not trying to be funny. I'm trying to recall who they played coming out of the bye.
Well, they had a week 10 bye this year, so week 11 they played against the Broncos, and that was the.
Okay, so that ended. Well, not ended, but it just said that I mean it didn't really matter when you take a look at it that Andy Reid had that great record and it was going to end because of the line. There was no line adjustment.
Yeah.
I mean, or whatever, or if there was a line adjustment, that instead of being -2, they made a -4. It didn't matter because they lost the game.
Right. Yeah.
So any adjustment that they put in because of Andy Reid's great record after a bye had no. Now it's just a happenstance. It had no effect on the game because Denver would have covered +2 or +4 if there was an adjustment.
Right. Yeah. So it didn't matter.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that the bye could be a negative for the Panthers, given that they're coming off a win. However, the Saints are also coming off a win, so this is not a good spot for them either. Anytime you have a bad team come off a win, it's usually a fade spot. So you have two bad teams come off a win. So I don't really like either side. I'm just going to take the points with the Saints. But I mean, you said you like the Panthers here.
Carolina right now. Well, I don't think I talked about it yet. Because I'm going to mention something that's negative about both of them. Okay. Carolina 7-6. They are now in between Dallas and Detroit for the wild card. They are the number 2 wild card, and I don't know who holds the tiebreaker between Carolina and Detroit. But if Carolina beats New Orleans and Detroit loses to the Rams, they're both 8-6.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. But the point I was going to make when I take a look at the NFC, it has happened before. And it's likely to happen again this year. All 4 teams in the NFC South have been outscored by their opposition this year. All 4. Tampa Bay by 26, Carolina by 50, Atlanta by 61, and New Orleans by 109.
Not good.
So
for the Saints
basically, Carolina 59 points better than a differential, which is about 4.5 points a game.
Yeah.
A little over 4 points a game. So it's not a game I'm going to play, but I do prefer the Panthers.
Okay. All right. So
I like their running game. I like their versatility there. Bryce Young is starting to show a little bit more positives. Of course, so is Shook for New Orleans. And by the way, one thing that you do have if you do like New Orleans, let me go. I'm not going to use that EPA number. I'll leave that for the environmentalists, but I will point out if I can find the number here.
Actually, before you do, EPA actually has the Saints as the better team. Funny enough.
Well, I was going to mention something along those lines defensively. If you use the traditional measures, yards per game, New Orleans 17 better, ranking 12 versus 18. Points allowed, Carolina actually is a little bit better, but points and yards are not necessarily correlated. When I look at the rushing game, Carolina does have the edge. Number 10 rushing the ball against the number 23 rushing defense. New Orleans cannot run the football. They're under 100 yards, and Carolina is basically average. In the passing game, the big edge there goes to New Orleans pass defense. They're number 6 going up against Carolina's number 25 passing offense, and New Orleans is 21 going up against an 18th ranked, which is about average Carolina pass defense. So, yeah, my numbers, my basic numbers. Let me take a look at the yards per play because, again, it's not EPA, it's YPP. But Carolina, better offense. And yes, New Orleans is clearly better defensively, 5.1 yards per play allowed versus 5.7. So I agree with EPA. It's a great stat. Till I disagree with it.
Right. It's selective agreement.
Well, no. It's because the YPP is an easily understandable statistic that makes sense to a large extent. Yes, there are fallacies there, okay, because kneel downs factor into the determination of that. Right. How much of a factor? Well, what does a kneel down happen? Maybe 4 to 6 times a game, if that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's both teams in the game. One does it at the end of the first half, one does it in the second half. So, but yeah.
Yeah, and I talked about how there could be some games where, or some instances where it's like a 3rd and 19, and the team's just willing to allow an 11-yard play because it doesn't matter. So,
of course, they want to keep the guys in front of them. The defenders do. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So, Saints. By the way, in the past 2 months, the Saints are 10th in defensive EPA. So the defense has played better than it did in the beginning of the season. So.
In fact, I want to see my first half, second half, because now we're looking at 7 games in each. But we can go on to the next game, and I'll start using it there.
Okay. All right. So the one of the big games of the week that you talked about, the Lions at the Rams. This line is Rams minus 5.5. So the Lions to me.
By the way, I will tell you in advance, I changed my opinion on this game from my initial thought to what I finally decided up and wrote up.
Okay. All right. I'm kind of curious about that, but okay. So as far as this is concerned, the Lions are a team that just so they beat up on Dallas, right? But whenever they played top competition this year, they just haven't really lived up to it. Outside of you could say one game, but that game has a huge asterisk to it. So
which game is that?
Well, I'll discuss that in 1 second. So they played 5 games. The Lions have played 5 games this year against teams that are in Group A or Group B in my rankings. So in those games, the Lions are 1-4. They have lost to the Packers twice. They lost to the Eagles. They lost to the Chiefs. And the one game they won, which is the asterisk game, is the Ravens game, where they won 38-30 on Monday Night Football. And the asterisk there is that Baltimore was really banged up in that game, and they kept losing players throughout the game. So if that's like the marquee win that everyone remembers, and it's not that impressive just because of how injury ravaged Baltimore was, and Baltimore got smoked at Kansas City the next week, and then they just kept losing over and over again until they went into their bye. So Detroit, really, if you factor that in, Detroit hasn't won an impressive game this year. If you take that out, probably their best win is their win over Tampa on Monday Night Football, and again, Tampa has been declining. And so if you remove that, then it's Dallas. So Detroit really hasn't really shown much this year. They could beat up on bad teams. We've seen that. That's they have enough offensive talent to do that. But I don't know. I don't think they can compete reliably against the Rams, who, in my opinion, and your opinion as well, are the best team in the NFL. So this line seems like a little too high at 5.5. But at second thought, I think this line should be even higher. I made it 6.5. I think the Rams are the much better team, and I'm not a big revenge guy, but this is double revenge for them for the playoff loss and also Week 1 last year. So
it worked against Philadelphia.
What'd you say?
The revenge worked against Philadelphia when the Rams played them.
Yeah, for 59 minutes. Yeah,
game 60.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if a blocked field goal return for a touchdown beats us here, then so be it. But I like the Rams here. This is probably my 3rd favorite pick of the week if I had to rank them.
Go ahead.
So no, I do like the Rams a lot. So what are your thoughts?
Okay, let me go back, by the way, because one thing I'd like to look at is how these teams do against common opponents.
Okay.
So, some measure. I'm going to go back to Green Bay and Denver. Green Bay is 3-1 straight up. 3-1-1 straight up. 3-1-1 because I guess they both played Dallas, and 1-4 against the spread. Denver's 5-0 against those teams, 3-2 against the spread. So, regardless of where you have them all ranked, it's against different levels of team, but they played the same teams, and that's basically a third of their schedules. Okay, so that's a little bit more that I like about Denver. Now, when we get to Detroit and the Rams and use that comparison, there are only 3 common opponents that they faced, or at least 3 games against common opponents. Because I don't know if it's the case, but sometimes these common opponents will include teams where a team may play a division rival and they played them twice, and the opponent played that same team, but they only played them once because it was non-division. But I don't have that here. But they're both 2-1 straight up and against the spread against their 3 common opponents. Now the margins that they have, actually, the Rams, and it's only 3 games, they actually have a 6.0 average margin better than Detroit, 11.4 versus 5.4. So that's pretty much close to the line. Detroit, at least in the raw numbers, had a 374 to 310 advantage on offense, and the Rams had a 259 to 280 advantage on defense. And basically, Detroit had a plus 37 net yards differential overall. Let me see here. Net turnovers. The Rams had 4. The Lions had none. And Detroit had an average yards per play offensively about a half yard better than the Rams. And the Rams had about a 0.7 yards advantage defensively, which is pretty close, a slight edge in yards per point. I originally thought I was going to like the Rams a lot.
Okay.
And then I took a closer look at it about the impact of these games. And let me see. I want to see how I wrote this up, because I think I had the line coming into play in this game with the Rams winning, but Detroit covering. We know the importance of the game for Detroit because of the fact that they are not going to win the division title, and they are playing for their wild card lives.
Okay.
The Rams are in a 3-way battle for the NFC West, okay, against San Francisco and Seattle. This game is much more important to the Lions because they're playing for a wild card. This game is not as important for the Rams because it's a non-division game, and their record in the division is what's going to determine how far they go, okay? And that's going to come into play next week when they're at Seattle, a much more important game than this one. Would the Rams like to continue to win? Of course they would, because they'd like to be able to get that number 1 seed. But this game may not necessarily help them because they are 1 game ahead of San Francisco, right? They're 10-3, and San Francisco is 9-4.
Mm-hmm.
However, Seattle is also 10-3. But this game doesn't mean anything. Let's say the Rams win today and Seattle loses. Okay? No, I'm sorry. Let's say the Rams lose today and drop to 10-4, and Seattle wins and goes to 11-3. And then the Rams beat Seattle next week and they're tied again, but the Rams have the advantage because they will have swept Seattle.
What about the Niners, though? The
Niners still have a couple of games as well. The Niners are actually in the best position of all because they still have to catch the Rams.
Right.
They are 1 game. Let me see who San Francisco plays. I think they play. It may be not Arizona. I think they play Seattle. Maybe it is Seattle and Arizona.
Well, they played the Titans and the Colts in their next 2. I know that.
No, they play. Yeah, San Francisco hosts Tennessee. Tennessee is this weekend. Then they're at Indianapolis on a Monday night. Then they host Chicago, and they host Seattle in Week 18.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think the Rams. San Francisco has only 1 more divisional game, and I believe they are 4-1 in the division. I think they swept Arizona. They split with the Rams. And they have the 1 win against. And they have the 1 win against Seattle early on, right? I think they beat
Yeah.
Seattle
In
by
week
I
one.
think 4 in week 1, which
Yeah.
which doesn't count for you. So maybe San Francisco's record is only 3-1 the division.
That's
No,
the-
no, they're 4-1. So they just have that one game against. Yeah, let's use Walt standings for determining the playoff
Yeah.
seedings.
Let's
But
do it.
no,
Let's remove it.
no, but because I honestly, and I know about the quality of competition and everything, I think either team can win this game. And interestingly enough, you have both former quarterbacks facing off against each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but because the Lions are playing with the greater need and they're getting points, I don't need them to win this game. I just need them to be competitive.
Okay. I do think this game means no. You could say this game means more to the Lions, and I think that's true.
Much more to the Lions.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know about much more, just because if the Rams lose this game, that opens up the Niners catching them. And like, yeah, okay, for Seattle, only next week matters. But
what happens is that San Francisco would have to win in Seattle in Week 18. If the Rams, let's assume that that the scenario that I mentioned works out, that the Rams lose, okay, and they are now 10-4. Seattle wins; they're now 11-3. And the Niners win this week against the Titans. They're now 10-4 and tied with the Rams, and of course they split their season series.
Right, exactly.
So what it comes down to is if the Rams beat Seattle, okay, they would. And I don't know how the tiebreakers would work, okay, but they could theoretically they would now have an advantage over Seattle, assuming both teams win out. But and if Seattle wins out, that means the 49ers would have one less win than the Rams. If the Rams beat Seattle and Seattle beats the 49ers, then you're looking at the Rams and Seattle, I believe, being tied.
I believe.
I don't know what happens if Seattle is eliminated and the Rams and the 49ers are tied, because they do have that tiebreaker.
Mm-hmm. I'm putting this in the playoff machine, just kind of wondering who has the tiebreaker. So
now now that includes future results.
Yes.
So you're playing an if something. You're playing out a scenario.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if the Rams and the Niners had the same record at the end of the year, who would get it. I think the Rams actually get it, just based on what I'm seeing here.
Well, I get it now. Okay, are you able to put in the results for games 14, 15, and 16? Or 15, 16, 17 in your simulator, in your thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you?
I'll put it on the screen.
What do you have for the results in this week? Week 15. What results did you put in the machine?
I put the Lions beating the Rams, and I put in the Seahawks beating the Colts, and I put in the Niners beating the Titans.
So you have the Rams losing, Seattle winning, and the 49ers winning.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now in week 16, who plays who?
This is the Rams, Seahawks, obviously. So we would give
have the Rams winning.
Yeah, the Rams winning. Niners beating the Colts.
Okay.
And that would move the Rams into the 1 seed.
And what do you have Seattle? Oh, all right. You have Seattle losing because it's to the Rams. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Now what would that move after 16 weeks?
So the Rams would have the tiebreaker over Seattle and San Francisco. So if these teams
now let's go to week 17.
Right. Niners beat the Bears.
Okay.
Rams beat the Falcons.
Okay.
And the Seahawks beat the Panthers.
Okay. Let's go with that scenario. So now we've got 1 week left.
Yeah. Week 18, we have the Rams beating the Cardinals, and we would have the Niners beating the Seahawks to see who gets the.
That would be the first. That would be the first iteration, and then you will reverse that result for the next one to see what it is.
Yeah.
So who has the tiebreaker with all? What is it? All 3 teams winning? No, it can't be all 3 teams winning.
Right. So it's on the screen here. So the Rams would be first seed at 13-4, Niners 13-4, 5th seed, and Seahawks would be 12-5 with the 6th seed. So,
and that's with Seattle beating San Francisco, or San Francisco beating Seattle.
That's San Francisco beating Seattle. So if we reverse it and go to Seattle beating San Francisco, then the Rams still have the tiebreaker. So it looks like the Rams have the tiebreakers here.
So what we're saying is that if this scenario plays out,
mm-hmm.
it would not matter what Seattle or San Francisco would not matter what happens in the Seattle-San Francisco game as long as the Rams win their next 3 games against Seattle, against Atlanta, and against Arizona.
Yeah, but it would matter for the first seed because the Packers would jump ahead of the Rams.
Well, we don't know what the Packers are going to do.
Right, but they play at the same time, so they
No, but I'm saying that we don't know what the Packers are going to do in their last 4 games.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that, like, if the Packers beat the Broncos this week, then they would jump ahead of the Rams because they would have
the tie. The tie there and 1 less loss. The Green Bay finishes at Denver, at Chicago, home to Baltimore, and at Minnesota.
Yeah, right.
So what we're saying is Green Bay would have to pick up 1 game on the Rams. And we have the Rams going 3-1, right?
Yes, so that would be
with the one loss being this week to Detroit.
Detroit, yeah.
Okay, so that means Green Bay would have to go 4-0 to pick up that 1 game.
If the Rams go 3-1, yeah.
Well, I'm saying the Rams will be favored to go 3-1. Doesn't mean they will, but you have to believe that they will. You have to believe that they beat Arizona. Who's the other game we have them playing aside from Seattle and Atlanta?
This week Detroit, then Seattle, then Atlanta, and then Arizona in week 18.
Okay, so we have them losing to Detroit.
Yep.
Okay, which is what started this whole thing, and then so so they lose to Detroit, but if they defeat Seattle, Atlanta, and Arizona, and they may not be favored in the Seattle game, but that game is going to determine their season.
Yeah, I think they're -1. I think they're
okay.
Seattle's -1.
Okay. In any event, that's the game that would determine the Rams' fate, and it would make Green Bay have to go 4-0.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
So that's my rationale for saying that this game doesn't mean they don't want to win, the Rams, and I have them winning the game, just not covering the spread.
Okay.
But I'm saying that Detroit has the greater sense of urgency because they cannot win their division title.
Right.
At least I think they've been eliminated
from the divisional title. I wouldn't
maybe
think so.
not because they're what? They're 8-5, and Green Bay's
9-3
is 9-3-1, so they're a game and a half behind.
Mm-hmm. The caveat is Green Bay and Chicago play each other, so one of the teams is going to have 10 wins, assuming there's no tie. But Detroit can still get to 12-5, so they can still.
They could theoretically win the division, but I think realistically, from our standpoint, they got to be thinking wild card.
I would agree with that, yeah.
Which again, I mean, the fact that the Rams are almost assured of being in the playoffs with their 10 wins, especially facing the schedule. Even if they lose to Seattle and they win the other 2 games, they would be what, 12-5.
Yeah, that'll get them in.
Yeah. Okay. So that would get them in as a wild card. So that's why. And again, I expect the Rams to win this game. Wouldn't be surprised if the Lions win, but. And then there's another half-hour thing I think just about, but I will be taking the Lions. I want to see where that line goes. I have a feeling the money will come in on the Lions, and it'll go to 5 before it goes to 6.
Okay, where is the money going?
Let me see if I'm seeing any 6s out there now.
I'm
seeing the Rams 6 at Westgate. Yeah, it's going to the Rams. They're at 6.5 at Circa. They're at 6 at Westgate, 6 at South Point, 6 at William Hill, 6 at Stations, which is a local place, 5 at Boomers, which is a new place, 5.5 Golden Nugget, and the stand.
You break up there, Andy? Your camera froze. Are you there? Okay.
Oh, I'm
sorry.
I
think you're back. You froze for a second.
It's on, but it's frozen. So I think this should. Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah. So the line is moving toward the Rams' directions, as you were saying. I'm seeing 72% of the bets are on the Lions. However, the money is evenly split. So that would indicate higher bets on the Rams. Higher like wages on the Rams. So
$1,000 versus $100.
Sure, yeah. So Yeah.
By the way, I assume, and I may be incorrect, that when they talk about money wagered, they're only talking about straight plays, no part of parlays or anything like that.
Yeah. I really do like the Rams in the matchup in this game with Jared Goff. Jared Goff folds under pressure when he's pressured a lot. So the Rams bring a lot of heat, and so I think that's a big advantage. And like I said, playoff revenge for what it's worth. All right, we can jump.
Like I say, they can get the revenge.
Yeah,
Detroit can just keep it close.
That's true.
27-23, they get their revenge. I cash a ticket.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, as far as motivation is concerned,
motivation's the same. Whatever revenge motivation is, the motivation for the Lions is even greater. Because the Lions are winning, not because the Rams don't want to win the game, they do, but the Lions have the greater sense of urgency because, as we just demonstrated, assuming things play out, and that assuming the Rams beat Seattle next week and win their final two games against Arizona and Atlanta, this game means nothing, win or lose. Well, win it probably means win it. Well, we already said that as long as they beat Seattle and the other two games, they win the tiebreaker against Seattle or San Francisco or both.
Yeah, that's right. Well, assuming they win. I mean, they lost to Carolina, so like you can't take anything.
Well, yeah, but look, the Rams could lose to Atlanta.
Yeah, you can't take anything for granted in the NFL. Yeah. So, all right. So we disagree.
You
mean
like the Packers? Like the Packers beating the Broncos? Can't take that for granted today.
Exactly right. I mean,
no, I know what you're saying. And by the way, I did not ask you to run a scenario where one of those games is tied.
Thank God.
We've already had our tie game for this year.
Yeah,
and it's actually going to hurt Dallas.
No more ties. No ties in games. No ties on people's clothing. I'm opposed to both.
Well, I would have one exception. If you had football players wear ties over their uniforms, I'd like that. Now you wouldn't have to pull hair to bring a guy down. You could pull their tie.
Yeah, it's kind of, it reminds me of the I don't know if you ever watched South Park, but they they changed the Sarcastable episode where they wore bras because when they're playing football. One of my favorite episodes of all time. So funny. Anyway,
I wonder what Dr. Freud would say about that, Walter.
That episode aired like 13 years ago.
They'd probably say, "Oh, Walter, you have a nice issue there. You love cartoons."
I do like cartoons.
Yeah.
Me too. Anyway, Anyway, so the final 4:00 game, Titans at the 49ers. 49ers are favored by 12.5. You mentioned that the Titans are playing better, which makes sense because Jeffrey Simmons has been back. Cam Ward has had more experience. Shamari DK has emerged as a weapon of sorts for the Titans. But I just think that they are outmatched in this game. It's one thing to play better against the Browns, to play better against the 49ers here on the road. And Tennessee coming off a win, bad team coming off a win. So that's automatically.
Well, they don't have to win here. They just have to keep it under, a dozen or less.
Oh, I'm just saying that they're coming off a win. So like that generally.
No, but I'm saying, what are they? Are they? Well, the question is now: are you saying bad teams coming off a win?
Yeah, bad teams coming to win generally not good. We ran those numbers a long time ago.
But did we define what the line was when that bad you may have defined bad teams, and maybe you should say a bad team is. I would go say after week 8, any team winning a third of their games or less is a bad team.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the record if they're getting more than 10 points versus what's the record if they're getting less than 10 points? I don't recall exactly how we ran that.
I think we're just we looked at how teams in general coming off wins, whether it's the Titans or the Chiefs or whomever. It was like the Titans and the Panthers are had the worst records coming off wins or something. But it's generally it's something I do look at. It's like bad teams coming off wins is usually a bad thing, and so I think that
I'm just going to get some numbers here on. Tennessee, because we're talking about a big spread here. They have covered 5 of their last 6 as under of their last 6 games, and in those games they were plus 15, plus 10, plus 5, plus 12.5, plus 6, and plus 3. The one they didn't cover was 2 weeks ago against Jacksonville. Their margins, and this is part of why I would say that they're playing well. They lost their opener to Denver by 8. Then they lost by 14, by 21, by 26. They had that 1-point win at Arizona. Then lost by 10, lost by 18, lost by 24. So they were 1-4, 1-7 following that 24-point loss to Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. Since then, they lost by 7 to the Chargers, 3 to the Texans, 6 to the Seahawks. Now, of course, backdoor covers here, but that comes into play here. 6 to the Seahawks, by 22 to Jacksonville, and then they won last week. So from losing by double digits in 6 of their first 7 losses, they've lost by more than 7 once in their last 5 losses. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's a sign of improvement, especially when you're talking about a rookie quarterback and what is a second-year coach who got fired, I think.
Yeah. So anyway,
that's the concern. I mean, all things being equal, San Francisco would be an obvious play.
Yeah, I think, but 2 of those covers that you mentioned came via punt return touchdowns to Shamar DK. Yeah. Like if they didn't happen, they would not have covered against the Chargers with Seahawks.
Yeah, but we don't know. We don't know what they would have done on those possessions if they had them. You can assume that they probably would have done nothing, but you can't say for sure. If you had assumed that they would not return a punt in that game, you would have been wrong.
Yeah, I mean that's true. That's true. Yeah. Although against Jacksonville, their punt returner muffed the punt, so went the other way.
So they would have lost by 15 instead of 22.
Right. So I think that I'd be inclined to be on the Niners here. I don't. The Tennessee is just a dreadful team. They played better, like I said, with Simmons and the punt return, but they really don't have much going for them. They can't really do anything well outside of the punt returns. Although they ran really well against Cleveland last week. I'm not counting on that this time. The Niners are top 10 against the run, so they should be able to contain Pollard. And the Titans have been just dreadful, allowing stuff over the middle of the field, which the Niners, that's where they thrive. George Kittle should have a monster game, and McCaffrey as a receiver also should have a great game. I like the Niners here for sure. What are your thoughts here?
I originally thought I would like Tennessee for the reasons I mentioned, and I don't remember what the determining factor was, but and I sent you the newsletter a little while ago. I ended up going with San Francisco, but it's not you know how I do the things. Top play, featured plays, best of the rest, and the rest are basically flip a coin. Right. That's where this game goes. Meaning it's also again when I'm looking at my sheet now as we're going over and I'm marking down what my opinions are, and right now I have only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 playable games, and we've talked about 5 of them that I'm looking to play. I played one of them already when I got that number on the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are kind of like a mid. I laid the 4.5. It's up to 5.5. Mm-hmm. If it were 4.5 when I went to make the bet, I would not have played it. Okay. And I probably could have bought the 4.5 down, but I just said I think this is going to be a game where they're going to break out. But the ones that I have playable, excuse me, I think a couple of them we agree on. The Bills, the Ravens, the Chiefs sort of a half play, the Seahawks, the Broncos, the Lions, and then I'll have an opinion on Monday night. So the others are all just basically leans.
Okay. All right. So let's get to the 2 night games. We have Vikings at Cowboys. This line is all over the place. There's 5.5, there's 6, there's 6.5. Basically get whatever you want here. There are a couple of things I find interesting about this game. One is this also applies to what I said last week about Minnesota, where McCarthy had played nothing but good defenses since coming back from the injury he had.
Right.
And then he played Washington. We saw the 32nd ranked defense. He really exploited them. Dallas's defense is better than Washington's, obviously, because Washington's 32nd.
Dallas's defense in the last few weeks is better than their first 2 months.
Yeah, over the past 2 months, Dallas is 28th in defense. They were awful. They're absolutely awful against Detroit.
What'd you say over the last how long?
2 months. Over the last since week 7.
Dallas. What are they since week 10?
I I can look that up and tell you.
In other words, let's use the same basis of Green Bay's current form. Let's use Dallas's current form on defense.
That's fair. That's fair. So since week 10, Dallas is going to take about 20 seconds to load. So since week 10, Dallas is 27th in defense, according to EPA.
Yeah, well, there's EPA. There's that number again. It makes no sense. You watch these teams play on the field, and you're telling me Dallas is over the last 4 weeks, their defense is as bad as it was back in the beginning. That hasn't improved by maybe 1 point.
I'm going to take out that Detroit game, and I'm going to see what that gives us, because that Detroit game was awful for them. Okay, taking out the Detroit game, they're 23rd in defense. So what has been happening here? Okay, so let's pull up Dallas' schedule, because you said since week 10. The week 10 was their bye week. So so week 11 onward.
Yeah, week 11 onward is 4 games: 11, 12, 13, 14.
Okay, so they had Raiders 33-16, Eagles. So Eagles, great first half, bad second half. 24-21. Then the Chiefs. So the Chiefs scored 28. I think that had played a part in it. And then this Detroit game was just awful for the
which
Cowboys.
is 1/4 of those results for the 4 week period.
Yeah, although the Chiefs scoring 28 is not going to look good for their metrics, you know. So
well, the thing is, again, defense does not include special teams, correct?
No.
So we have to take out. Were there any kick returns or interception returns? I guess you wouldn't count either.
Well, no, Mahomes threw 4 touchdowns in that game. He was 23 of 34, 261, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And that was with the Chiefs losing both tackles in that game.
Whatever the reason.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying Mahomes played well despite the.
Yeah, I'm saying yeah.
So so for 2 of those games, actually 2.5 of those games, Dallas' defense has been awful, because the first half of the Eagles game they allowed 21. So they only played well against the Raiders, at second half against the Eagles, and that's it in this 4-game span. So they have actually been better, because before the bye they were way worse than 23rd or whatever.
Well, here's I'm going to use yards per play against. Okay. In the first 4 games, 6.52. Mm-hmm. In the next 4 games, 6.27. In the next 4 games, 5.6.
Yeah.
And then the 7.3 in that last game that they played, the Detroit game.
Yeah. So
their defense has shown steady improvement. Now, the average yards per play, I think, is about 5.3 or something. So they've actually come down a lot. So, maybe see, I can understand their EPA ranking them where they do on the season. I cannot see them over the first half and the second. What was their rankings games 1 through 7 versus 8 through 14 or 13?
Okay, 1 through 7, the Cowboys were. Let's update this. Cowboys were they were 30th.
Okay, that's reasonable.
1 through
7. 1 through 8. 1 through 7.
Yeah.
Okay, and 8 through 13.
30th.
Yeah, so we'll do 8. 7 and 6. 7 weeks and 6 weeks.
You want to do 8 through 13 and not 14?
No, well, yeah. Let's do 8 through 13. Then we'll do 8 by 14 and see what the impact is of 1 week.
Okay.
One bad week.
All right. Okay, so first week 1 through 7 was 30th. 8 through 13th was 28th. So slight improvement, and then 8 through 14 was and this could be just other teams improving. So 29th. So they dropped 1. They dropped 1 spot. But weeks 8 and 9 I thought were really bad. Like they played against Arizona. Like they allowed so many points to Arizona, for example.
Now, by the way, does EPA take into account the quality of team they're facing?
I would think so, because your percentage chance of scoring against a good team is going to be less than the bad team.
Yeah, but how do they define a good team? Do they do it on a basis of win-loss record, points scored, points allowed?
Probably
I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but these things are important in getting the context over how these statistics are developed and used. Because no one talks about, well, here's what goes into the statistic, so you don't know what what yards per point means, and you know what goes into it, and you know the strengths of it, and you know the weaknesses of it. If you don't know how EPA is calculated, then you don't know what the strengths and weaknesses of it are. And believe me, every statistic has strengths and weaknesses. It's just a question of, do the strengths outweigh the weaknesses or vice versa? Or do they neutralize each other out?
Right. Right.
And that might be, and by the way, that might be a subjective decision, but at least you know what you're being subjective about. With EPA, we don't know what we would be subjective about.
Yeah. I mean, either way, we came to the same conclusion that the Cowboys were, outside of that Detroit game, they were below average.
But not, see, I'm not saying that they were that far below average.
But they were
in their recent games. They had a couple of games in there. Yeah, but you take a 4-game stretch of games, with the exception of Green Bay's last 4 games, which you love. But you take you take a stretch of 4 games, and most teams will have a clunker in there, a pretty good game, and 2 so-so games. For the most part. It doesn't always work that way because some teams play, like the Patriots play a soft schedule, then they play a more difficult schedule. So their 4 tougher games may be more concentrated. But I would say on average, if you take a look at games 1 through 4, 5 through 8, you'll find in general a lot of teams having a good game, a bad game, and 2 roughly average games in there.
Right. I'm just saying that we agree on that, because you came to the conclusion with yards per play that Dallas was below average in the games, the 3 games, not including the Detroit game that we've seen recently. And
but they were improving. They were improving to the point. In fact, let me just see here because I do have that number.
Yeah, that's the number I gave you, right?
The average yards per play for the season is actually 5.3.
Yeah, that's his. Yeah,
so
right.
Over their last 4 games, I think I said that
5.6. You said.
Yeah, 5.6, so a little below average, but a little bit below average in the rankings would be like 18 to 20.
Well, I had him as 23rd, and not including the Detroit game.
That's in games. Well, no, I wouldn't. Yeah, in games 9 through 12.
Yeah, we have him at 23rd.
Okay, they have him at 23rd.
Yeah. So I think it's pretty reasonable given that they allowed a lot to the Chiefs in first half against Eagles.
Yeah, but their overall yards per play was, what did you say for that? What did I say? 5.3.
5.6 for them, and average is 5.3.
Yeah, let me just check that again here. But if that's what I said, then that would be correct. I thought they were a little bit better than that, but I don't have that analysis in front of me right now. I got it buried between a few pages here. Let me see here. Dallas. Yes, 5.6. Okay.
Yeah. So they've been below average, as opposed to dreadful in the 3 games, and in the 4 games, not including the Detroit game. So the 3 weeks 11 through 13. They play below average defense.
Well, let me see what their overall ranking is using the traditional message for this. You said they're like what for the season? 28th?
Yeah.
27th?
28th. Yeah, 28th for the whole season.
Okay, for the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see here. They are in their traditional measures, they are 29th.
All right.
So
we're on the same page.
We're in agreement, yeah.
It's funny how that works. But anyway, my point here was that Dallas has not a good defense. They have a below average defense now. And so
can Minnesota take advantage? Remember, now that we saw him succeed against Washington, Dallas now knows, not that they want to know, but they know how McCarthy was able to succeed against a lousy defense because he's going to face one this week.
Exactly, right. They'll have the game plan.
Unfortunately, that's their defense. Yeah.
Right. I think McCarthy will at least be better than he was in the other games, not counting Washington. I don't see him playing poorly in this. Well, he could obviously play poorly, but I think there's a good chance that he plays somewhat decently in this game, enough to potentially cover the spread. But on the other hand, I think that Dallas has a great advantage against Minnesota, and Minnesota's defense has been great recently. Van Ginkel's health has been awesome for them, and they're really coming together. But Dak Prescott is the number 2 quarterback in the NFL against the blitz this year. He's fantastic against the blitz. And I mentioned quarterback.
Now, that's what quarterback rating, is that how they measure that?
You're not going to like my answer.
You don't know.
No. It's hold on. I think
another EPA type stat.
Sort of. It's I think it's like DVOA that I was looking at for
Okay.
it's basically Pro Football Focus's rankings for that.
Okay.
So anyway, so according to the Blitz, he's great, and when he's pressured compared to when he's not pressured, to talk about how like Mariota, his completion percentage drops 30% when he's pressured. It's just awful. Same thing with Jared Goff. Jared Goff's completion percentage drops to like 80 to like 48. Like it's awful. But Dak Prescott's completion percentage when pressured only drops like 10%. His YPA actually goes up. And so he's I feel like this is a really good matchup for him. And also, you know, we'll see if CeeDee Lamb can return. Lamb was limited with his concussion, but I have to think that George Pickens is going to have a better effort than he did in the last game after facing so much criticism. And maybe he's a turd again, but given how much criticism he got from everyone in the media, I think he'll play better. And you know, even if Lamb's out, like Flournoy looked really good last week. I think that he's a decent receiver. I remember having him in my mock draft and covering him about the NFL draft. So I think this is a close call for me. I really don't like either side. I think I'd lean toward Minnesota, maybe getting a backdoor at the end or something. I think this could potentially be close, but I'm not like looking to fade Dallas as a big fader or anything. So what are your thoughts on this game?
Pretty similar. I do have, again, I had on the rest when I put it out in my newsletter, I put Minnesota plus the points as you know, in the lean category, which means that it's subject to change. For example, I ended up putting New Orleans in there over Carolina plus the 2.5 points. Even though I said before I preferred the Panthers because I did a little. Part of the reason was when I looked at it before, I said I need a couple of more underdogs to have a chance this week, and I thought that New Orleans, because of how they played better, is the one that I would lean. But again, that was a lean, and now that I thought about it more, I said, you know what? If I were to do that now, I'd probably put the Panthers, but in the same category of just a lean. So I do it. But in this one, I put Minnesota in there, and I can't see anything that would change my mind. One of the things I do is I chart the average ranking of the opponents that a team has played. So, for example, Dallas's passing offense, and it's simplistic to the extent it's based on yards per game. Dallas is number one as far as passing offense. They have played their previous 13 games. The average pass defense rank of those opponents has been 17th. Okay. And most of the teams, because they're going to play good pass defense, most defenses are going to be in that like 14 to 19 range because the high numbers will balance out against the low numbers, but each team is going to have its own individual ranking for their own ranking as opposed to an average of 13 teams in this case. So, in fact, I do not see any situation of these categories I chart. Well, I do here. I see Philadelphia, total defense. They are 22nd in the league in total defense, but the average ranking of their opponent's total offense has been 10. In other words, their defense has faced a lot of really good offenses on average this year. Right. So that's you know, but that's probably one of the few examples of a team. I don't think I have any situation, as I'm glancing over it now, of any team's average ranking being in single digits because you've okay, here's one, and it might make sense. Tennessee has the 31st ranked rushing offense. Okay, the average opponent that they faced has the number 8 defense against the rush. Okay. A lot of that has to do is because those 13 opponents held Tennessee to no yards or something like that. So, right. So, but remember, individually, that's only going to account for 1/13 of their ranking.
Sure, right.
So it has to be a lot of teams that actually played good defense against other teams, which has them being a cumulative of 8. So they, in other words, Tennessee probably played a lot of defenses against the rush that, aside from playing Tennessee, ranked, let's say 1 through 14 or something like that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay. So
I by the way, I don't have them here easily. I actually developed power ratings off those numbers.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, which tend to be pretty good. And that
Okay.
would obviously have me support San Francisco as much as you do because it has them favored by 19.
Yeah, easy to see why.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said you're a lean on Minnesota. You said
Lean to Minnesota, but I probably won't play the game.
okay. Yeah, I
And in
feel the
fact,
same
if I
way.
did anything in the game, I would tease Dallas down.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Dallas and the Bears, I think, are the two numbers in the range I'm comfortable with.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so Monday Night Football, you said you have an opinion on this game, strong opinion on this game.
Yeah.
All right, so maybe we'll see if we're on the same side here or opposite
Go
side.
ahead. I'll let you go.
Steelers are 3.5-point favorites against the Dolphins. They played a great game last week, which really came out of nowhere because
Are you talking about the Steelers or are you talking about the Dolphins?
Steelers. Well, Dolphins, I guess they played a great game too, but against Brady Cook. So does that really count?
Yeah.
So yeah, the Steelers.
Well, the Steelers played a great game too, including they played 11-on-12 because the referees took that play away. So
that's true. That's true. But no, I mean, Aaron Rodgers looked a lot better last week.
Yeah.
He looked like MVP form. Like I don't know where this came from. I don't know if it's.
Well, remember they were embarrassed the week before. That's when Tomlin was being fired by the fans in the chance. So I expected a good effort out of the Steelers last week. That was one of my better plays that when you talked about earlier, I didn't mention when I mentioned Houston, for example, a couple of others, but I did not expect them to win.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. I didn't.
I expected it to be another field goal game like they played so many times.
I didn't expect the 55-yard bomb on the first play to Metcalf after completing no passes over the line of scrimmage until the third quarter. So, yeah, Rodgers looked great. I don't know how sustainable it is, but he does play against a bad Miami pass defense. The Dolphins are atrocious against the pass. They're a lot better against the run, but really bad against the pass. And the Dolphins have no pass rush either, so Rodgers shouldn't be too bothered by it, and I think he's going to have plenty of opportunity to hit downfield strikes to Metcalf again, who Metcalf is healthy as well. And then on the other side of the ball, the Miami can't pass protect, so you have the Steelers pass rush against the Dolphins. Poor pass protection.
Tua actually did well last week because the weather was, I think, like 41 degrees.
Yes, and now it's going to be what 11, 15 or something.
Is that what they're talking about? Yeah.
Let me
see what I see.
I thought I saw like 19.
I want to see an advanced weather report, which is reliable for about the next hour.
Yeah, it's 19 degrees. Looks like 19 degrees at night, so not even any sunlight for.
Yeah, that's the other thing is the nighttime where it's going to certainly get cooler. Let me see if they have anything that I see here. Yeah, I don't have any real forecast. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I can't imagine it being warm in Pittsburgh of this weather that we're expected to see. So I like Pittsburgh here. Not a fan of the 3.5 in general, but I do think that they have a good chance of beating Miami pretty easily. We have Miami, a bad team, come off a win, and I still think Miami's a bad team. I'm not impressed with any of their wins, like beating the Redskins when they muff a punt, or beating the Saints when the Saints had the pick two. Otherwise, they could have kicked the field goal, or beating the Jets with Brady Cook. I can't say I'm too thrilled with the 6 and 7, and I think the Steelers are substantially better than Miami. So I like Pittsburgh here. What are your thoughts?
I like Pittsburgh for a lot of the reasons you mentioned. I think it's a good matchup for them. I don't like Miami playing a second time in a row on the road in inclement weather, or certainly wintry weather, although it wasn't as bad as we thought last week against the Jets. However, teams that have faced the New York Jets in their previous game are 3-9 straight up, which is Miami, 1-11 against the points.
Wow.
And 10-2 towards the over/under.
Wow.
Yeah. So it shows Pittsburgh and over.
It makes sense to me because
the only other team that comes close, by the way, and keep this in mind for Green Bay next week, because it doesn't talk about the result. Teams that play Denver, and this one makes sense because of their defense, 3-9 straight up, 2-10 against the spread. Yeah. And basically within 2 games of 500 on the total.
Yeah, for me, I would say this makes sense because the Jets are awful, and so when a team looks
so you're taking a step down in class.
Yeah,
you're taking a step up in class after facing the Jets, regardless of who that is.
Yeah, because
in most instances,
you're gonna be playing a tougher team.
Yeah, plays that worked against the Jets won't work against the next defense you're facing, and same thing offensively. Plays that worked, plays that you defended well against the Jets, you won't defend as well against the next team you're playing in many cases.
Yeah, and not only that, when you look impressive against the Jets, the line is going to be shifted in your favor in the next game. So that, I mean, it makes sense for multiple reasons. So, we definitely like the Steelers here.
By the way, teams who played Miami, and this would point to the Jets, 10-2 to the over in their next game.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
And the Jets play the Jaguars, so I could see that being a higher scoring game, mostly from the Jags.
Yeah, I'll know my Jaguars are going to lose the next game, I guess, because they play the Jets this week. That's not good news. That's not good news. Like I said,
next week. No, that's next week, right?
Yeah.
Jags are going to lose next week. What do you have a futures on them?
No, I do. I have a future on them to win the division, which I placed back in the summer.
Well, it's only 3-9 straight up. You may want to bet against the Jags because that's the 1-11.
Well, yeah, they play.
And we'll see what it is after Miami gets done in Monday night.
Right. They play Denver next week, so that's not a good sign.
Who does?
The Jaguars.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So
especially see now you got to root for Denver to be coming off a win and they be less likely to.
Right. Yeah. Well, look, you have a bigger opinion on that game, so for the sake of the show, I will root for Denver. No, I like that.
Actually, Green Bay can win the game and not cover.
Yeah, that's certainly true. Yeah.
Although I will be playing Denver on the money line.
Okay. Thoughts on DK Metcalf having a good game? I could see it. He had a great game last week, and he plays against the Miami secondary that is bad, and no pass rush. So I think that could be the case for sure. And it doesn't look like there's going to be heavy wins now. A lot could change. It's only Wednesday, so anyway, did Miami win their one below 45-degree game for the decade? It's funny that the stat was under 45. Like 45 is not that cold. It's like I would say.
How windy was it last week? I couldn't tell.
I don't think it was that windy. I don't think it was that windy. Yeah. So I mean, when you're talking about the difference between 45 and 19, that is substantial. So I think that, and plus there's no sunlight too.
Now we don't know what the wind chill factor will be.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, it's I think it's incredibly substantial. It reminds me of when I went to Minnesota when the Eagles were going to the Super Bowl, and I looked at the weather report, and it was like I saw like -3, -1, -2 in the 3 days.
Which game now?
When the Eagles won the Super Bowl against the Patriots.
Okay.
Yeah, in Minnesota. So I was looking, like I said, I was looking at the weather report. It's like -3, -1, -2, and in Philly it's like 32, 35, and I'm like, they're both freezing. It's not a big difference. But it was a huge difference. It was an absolutely huge difference. Someone took my coat. We were at a media event. Charlie Campbell and I were at a media event, and someone took my coat, and there was no coat for me to take. And so I was walking outside with just a suit on in -3-degree weather. It was not a good experience at all.
That's when your icicles develop icicles.
Yeah, it was awful.
I think the worst game I was ever at was I want to say I think the wind chill factor was like -10 or something. It was a playoff game between the Jets and Kansas City the year after the Jets won the Super Bowl. They met in a wild card game, and I think Kansas City won like 10-6 or 13-6 or something.
So not only did you endure the cold, you endured your team losing too.
Yes.
That's not good. At least you won the Super Bowl the year before.
And the hot chocolate was hot for about 6 seconds.
No. Yeah. In Minnesota, we were waiting for the train we wanted to go to the Mall of America to get a coat for me. And there's the train that goes directly into the mall. But we were waiting at the train station, and there's actually a button that says push for heat, and you push it, and this yellow light turns on, and like this heat comes down on you. I was like, it wasn't that great, but it was certainly better than just like not having anything. Yeah. So that was just a horrible experience for me. And then of course, like we were at the mall, and like we're searching, and like Charlie went to the bathroom, so I was just waiting like for him. And so This guy is like big guy. He's wearing sunglasses and he has this entourage with him. He's wearing like this mink coat. He comes up to me and I'm wearing a suit from this media event. He goes up to me, he's like, "Excuse me, sir, where can I find this?" I'm like, "I don't work here." So he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. He just walks away with his entourage. I'm like, who was that? I didn't know who it was. He was wearing sunglasses. It was like really hard to see who it was, but I thought that was funny. He just thought I worked at the store.
But by the way, I was just looking at these common opponent results, and I didn't start looking at them really until later in the in our podcast. Buffalo, New England. These are two pretty good records. They have 9 games. Buffalo has 9 games against a division opponent. New England has 8 because I think New England's still has one more divisional game than Buffalo does. Buffalo is 7-2, winning by an average of 9.1 points per game. New England is 7-1, and they average winning by 7.4 points a game. So they've both built up nice records against teams that they've both faced.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly makes sense for sure.
By the way, we talked about the Eagles and Las Vegas. The Eagles are 2-4 against common foes.
Oh, really?
However, Vegas is 0-7. Vegas is 0-7, and they've lost by an average of 12.5 points per game. Eagles are 2-4, and they've averaged losing by 2.0 points per game.
Isn't that like it's emblematic of how we viewed the matchup, right? Because we're like, oh, fading the Eagles seems good, but then you have to take the Raiders.
Fading, but so does fading the. In fact, in those common games, Vegas 0-7 straight up, 2-5 against the spread. Philly 2-4 straight up, 1-5 against the spread. So collectively, their common opponents, they're 3-10 against the spread against those common opponents.
If only these teams were playing other teams so we could fade both of them. So it's a shame that we can't fade both this week. Okay, anything else before we head out? We're about 3 hours.
No, I think that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go have a drink.
Okay, sounds
probably
good.
Be apple juice or cranberry juice. I'm not sure yet.
Nice. I have my iced tea here. Okay, so do you want to talk about the logicalapproach.com?
Well, I'm going to mention I didn't get a chance to do it last week like I thought I would because I was exhausted. But we're done early enough this week that I should be able to get that stuff. If not later tonight, then tomorrow morning. And I'm going to try for later tonight because I'm wide awake and it's only not even 11 o'clock yet.
Yeah, we're done early. This is a brisk 3 hours.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah. Well, it's an hour. What did we do? 4:15 last week?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Something like that. Yeah.
As you said, marathon. Yeah, this is a sprint. So yeah, guys, check out thelogicalapproach.com. Sign up for Andy's newsletter. It's so much information in there, not just his picks or NFL and college football picks. There's also a lot of great data in there.
Well, this week's article, my feature this week, because there's only that one college game. Well, they got the bowl game starting. Is a long history of Army and Navy.
Oh, okay,
dating back to 2009 and taking a look at the fact that so many games went under and the results straight up were streaky for a while. So, and then I have my rant on the college football that we talked about earlier.
Nice. Yeah, if you guys want to hear that again, check out.
And I believe there are 0 expletives.
Nice.
They were in my mind, but not on the page.
That's awesome. So yeah, guys, sign up for Andy's newsletter. Highly recommend it. It's like I said, lots of great info on there. So we'll be back tomorrow about 20 to 30 minutes after the Thursday night game, the thriller between the Bucs and the Falcons. We'll be on with Evan. So we'll get to hear his thoughts on the games, and maybe we'll have live bets to talk about.
Well, it depends. What time do you set your alarm for after tomorrow night's game? Because I imagine you'll be sleeping through the second half.
Well, I mean, if we live betting is awesome.
Yeah, that's true.
So intense. And we usually have some good ones that we live bet on. Like last Thursday, I live bet Ryan Flournoy twice to go over. It was a nice one. So it was a Jake Ferguson over. So hopefully we have some good ones this week. I do like Kyle Pitts tomorrow if he plays. We don't know yet, but if he plays, I do like Kyle Pitts. So all right, guys, thank you so much for watching and commenting. Really appreciate it. Please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit walterfootball.com for tons of free content with the NFL. We're gonna have Thursday thoughts on the site tomorrow morning, actually probably in a couple hours. And Andy, great doing the show with you. Love our discussions. Our disagreements are always fun. Debates are great. So yeah, can't wait until next week.
Yeah, it's a lot better than you giving a nice explanation and I saying me too.
Yeah, definitely a lot more entertaining.
It's a lot better if I try to be Lee Corso and you finish your thing. I say, not so fast, my friend.
Right. Yeah. All right, guys. Hope
I
you have
think
a
he's.
great.
I think he's patented that. However, so
Has
or
he? Has he really?
copyrighted it. I don't know.
I
I don't
wouldn't
know.
blame him.
I mean, was it Pat Riley patented or copyrighted? What the three-peat?
Yeah. Yeah.
So nobody can now use it without paying royalties. I'm going to see if I can get away with patenting the letter E, so nobody can use the letter E unless they pay me royalties.
You should patent patents. So every
Yes.
time someone patents something, they have to pay you.
I get some, yes.
Right. All right, guys. Hope you have a great night, and I will talk.
And
to
a
you
great
tomorrow.
weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Good luck to everyone, and